Welcome everybody back to the Albion Giants League. This is week 3 Spartans division. I'm Ty Vengeance, today joined by Super Sonic Blur. That's right, our friend from across the pond is finally back. And
Hell yeah.
We have the team Asinus versus Mobile Wards, and Blur kind of expecting a good one, right?
It certainly looks to be. From the Spartans division, there's certainly some names that I do know. C-Money is the first one that comes to mind. Black and Red Bird also comes to mind of players who I've seen before, and they've always been able to put on a good show. This is the Spartans League, so not necessarily the top of the top, but not at the bottom of the bottom. So, and always as well, it's going to be a good, solid matchup between two good teams. For now, though, I'm more interested in how these two teams are going to work with a lot of these changes. We've seen mid-season patch roll through it, and we have had a couple of weeks to start rolling with it, but if you look at SPL, SCC, everything's up in arms. If you have a pocket pick, you can make that look like the most OP thing in the game.
This is true. Now, we have seen, but we've also gotten to the point where a lot of these items have been completely nerfed and reworked yet again. So, as we go into picks and bans, keeping these things in mind, I'd say from the mid-season patch, not too much has changed overall, outside of a couple items. But coming into this...
Kate! Sorry, a bit of a cough I've got there. But no, I do agree with you there.
Anyway, as we get into picks and bans, we see one of the Hecate abusers immediately banned, known as Freya, followed up by Yamoja. So, based off this, I'm assuming we can expect some pretty normal bans of what we've seen recently then?
So far, it looks to be that, and I don't mind this option. If you know something's going to be super strong, you just ban it out at this point. Focus on getting your heals into an actual meta, and then start worrying about how do we actually counter these metas? How do we break certain things? Persephone, another really, really strong goddess who we've seen tons of potential and we've heard a lot about, not dealing with it. Just no, banned, gone, good night. no more Persephone. It is going to be interesting to see how they start prioritizing what's left up. Usually we see things like Cthulhu's, Nemesis have been very highly prioritized as well. So certainly options, as well as, unless they ban out all of the other mage ADCs, there's always going to be the options of things like Sol, maybe Kronos, Oleron potentially if it's left open. So as you can see already, that's what Mobile Wards are looking to do with this next ban. They know they're going to have to let something through. It's whether or not they want to leave anything specific through. And the Arachne, it's a nice, I wouldn't say throwaway ban, but it certainly feels like a pick of, if you wanted to pick this, sure, but we could always take that, taking that second, but we're second pick. We get 2 OP things. So what do you not want to see, Asinus?
Yeah, now seeing that the Cthulhu does come through, as he's been one of the more popular bands since he's been released. A lot of people finding him to be very strong in every role he plays.
He's insane. Well, no, he makes others insane, but yeah.
So Mobile Wards.
That was a pun.
Back to this.
Good to be back.
Anyway, Mobile Ward's going to go ahead and ban out another mage ADC with Oleron. And, speaking of mage ADCs, that was one of the popular things on Twitter today. Souls 3 could be canceled. Not many people knew that one, including one of our Olympians, let alone actually probably couldn't remember it. But anyway, keep going. We see the first pick, Bakasura, immediately. Someone's been popular since the Golden Blade was rebuffed and then slightly nerfed again. Whereas Mobile Wars are entering with this Ganesh and Rat. How are you? This is kind of interesting because of Rat's buffs and rework. And so how's this combo going to work for now?
For now, this kind of feels like it's all about those team fights in the middle of the map of the jungle, Gold Fury side of things, potentially even just looking for picks with Rat's rotations. A little bit of flex potential. The Ratatoska could potentially go from jungle, could also go to solo, given the prevalence of some of those buffed acorns that he now has access to. So we'll have to see how that plays out with the rest of the draft, but it's fairly solid, sort of all-round pressure in the game. Coupled in with the Poseidon, that looks like a really nice core 3v3, a lot of CC, great burst, really like that. Meanwhile, over the other side, the 3v3, we see Merlin and Athena locked in. Great global rotations from Athena, really nice taunts or CC setup for this Bakasura and Merlin, and then great long-range damage from the Merlin, which can help the Bakasura find out these targets and get to the later stages of the game where they're going to be able to be more prevalent and more of a problem, because Merlin kind of just sits in the lane and farms and then moves away, and there's not necessarily too much potential to really poke them out too hard. It is more of a commit you have to face for it. So that's going to round out the top end of these of the drafts. Now it looks like Hunter's pretty much being taken off the menu here.
Yep, coming through with the final ban phase, we see Mobile Wards getting rid of the Heimdallr and Jingwei, whereas the Asinus are getting rid of Ullr for now, waiting on the last ban to come through. It's interesting seeing just how much this ADC role is getting hit just because of Atalanta's bow and Hecate and Hachiman being the final ban for these phases. Meaning now we're looking for our first picks from Mobile Wards. You want to see an ADC or do you want to see a solo?
I think at this point, it could be pretty troublesome to leave ADC for the last pick. So for me, I like the idea of grabbing up the solo, or in this case, with the lock-in of the Morrigan, it looks like my suspicions were correct. This may be the Ratatoska solo, so this is actually... I can't even say whether or not this is jungle, because Poseidon can jungle as well, so there's a lot of options here. There's still some ambiguity.
Hold on, bear with me, because we've seen some people running Poseidon Hecate. We could see the Poseidon
ADC. We could. Or they pick up Zeus last pick and go Zeus ADC, because damn it, it works.
Okay, hold on.
All right. I'm
more magical. What?
All right, it's not perfect. I just want to see Zeus ADC, okay? I've been channeling my inner aggro recently, and I found a real love for Zeus because of Hecate. But that being said, there are still 2 picks that have to go the way here of Asinus. So one of them is going to be the ADC, and they're still working on that. Other options is going to be solo or maybe jungle, depending on where Baka goes. But Cupid locked in. And that's been a nice look. Something that's kind of come back into the meta recently, especially with those buffs. Cupid now just offers so much great potential in a team fight.
And now Zhonghui, the last pick locked in. I'm assuming this is going to be Zhonghui solo, can mix a bit of health and tankiness and with his damage. And
Don't you
no,
dare.
no,
Don't
no.
you dare, Mobile
You know what?
Wards.
I'm actually glad. You know what? If this is locked in, I'm glad I'm on the desk, not the caster. All right, there we go. There we go. After a little bit of trolling, Sun Wukong is finally locked in. We were a little concerned because it was a Loki hover. He has not been reworked yet, so you know Loki and all that. So Blurt, seeing these final picks come through between Asinus and Mobile Wards, which team are you favoring for this first game?
It's really difficult. If we look to the later game stages, then for me, Mobile Wards have just got so much more burst potential. This Morrigan pick, we didn't get to talk much about, but there are so many fantastic picks for them to be able to look at here. Do they want to get high rotation speeds with defense? Well, then you've got Athena. How about for aggression? Well, then you've got Ratatoska. Want to get into the backside and cause some trouble? Well, that's what the Sun Wukong's for. Maybe even the Zhonghui. There's every pick this Morrigan could go into, and I go, yep, that could be pretty good. So I'll have to keep an eye on how that trades out. And if Asinus can keep their head on this, keep Prime V in a reasonable spot, then I reckon that Asinus could take it. But for my money, it's got to be Mobile Wards.
All right. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, before we go ahead and get game number one, where our casters Illy and Lermy Wormy will take over, we're going to go ahead and throw it to a break real quick.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the actual game. My name is Illy. Alongside me, casting today will be Lermy Wormy. You recognize her from casting with the SCC. This is the Spartan division. It's Mobile Ward sitting over there on the red side of the table, and it's Team Asinus sitting on the blue side. Lermy, the desk kind of broke down what both of these team comps can do. I know I like big circles, so I'm kind of partial towards Mobile Ward's team myself, but what do you think? Who has the upper hand out of this draft?
Honestly, you know I'm a stand for Bakasura. I love that character. So, I mean, you've got to give it to Baka that he can definitely carry through in a fight should he be getting a lead.
Sure.
But interesting here that he's a little bit late to this buff. He's not going to have that eat minion either. He did get the jump, which is what you're supposed to be getting to at the start. And honestly,
Sure,
you're noting here that Zhonghui is going to be starting up this blue. So just doing these two big buffs together will net the junglers a level 2 start. But instead, on the other side, we're seeing Tragedy actually go for the full camp rotation. So I feel like it's going to be a little bit of an advantage here for Prime B. He's going to get to mid first. And being this Bakasura, he could be a gigantic bully and start to invade this Morrigan's red.
I mean, that's kind of what we look for in the box is actually Ganesh hits level 2, goes for the dash. There goes Cupid, no beads used. He'll be alive but still poked. After a little bit of aggression in the duo lane. It's Athena and Bakasura both on the same team, so I don't even know why I asked you who you like better, because we already know.
That is true, but honestly, I've been kind of shaking on my head here with my predictions. I thought it would be the other way around, but instead, Tragedy and C-Money are the ones invading, but instead, Prime B is going to be here eating away the red himself. but he might be in a bit of danger as Tragedy's wrapping around this side. Jump out's gonna be good though, but Morgan's not done here yet.
Ooh. Almost gets the Morgan stun, but a rotation coming in. The Poseidon gets the beads forced out of Prime V. That'd be the first active blood of the game, I guess we'll say. No kills yet. A couple of invades coming out, but going both ways, and a little bit of pressure in the duo lane. But honestly, like having a mage in duo lane really does help give you a lot of pressure.
For sure, and especially in this comparison here between Cupid and Poseidon, obviously one is going to have especially better clear. I mean, you're not even considering the bonus that Ganesh is providing to this as well, because not only does he have that full line clear, but he's giving extra bonuses over to his pal, the Poseidon.
Like
so
bonuses.
those two together are a really potent combo, as we've been talking about. And honestly, I'm just happy to see that some other mage is being taken over to the duo other than the regular offenders of Hakante abusing. So we'll have to see what happens here, but Athena's getting stuck.
Good taunt though, and the creeps will get it done. Kinsey gets a double kill coming out on the Cupid, beginning out this game just a half second too late from black and red blood on the shell. And a double kill coming out to start the game in the duo lane. That is a good place to be as a Cupid.
For sure, and we were literally just talking about it. Cupid does not get off the ground until a couple levels
He's
in, so
flying
now that like you said, he's got those little wings, but he sure is off the ground now. 2 kills on his name at this point in time, and not even to mention 2 assists for his boy, the support. That's going to help him as well. And honestly, the big power of Athena is that global rotation. Using the Defender of Olympus to go across the map and help someplace else is going to be very effective come the mid-game. And once we get there, really, I'm really hoping to see some aggression coming out of Giller, because once Jean-Qui gets ahead, I mean, that man's an annoyance.
Jean-Qui is one of the most annoying characters from ahead. And on top of that, I'm glad we actually switched over to the Athena just there, because Athena taunt, when you've got big frontliners and big carries that do a lot of damage, just becomes literally the scariest thing on the planet. It's such an easy ability, such a little thing, but it's so good when you've got a lead.
Nice dash in there by the Athena, but here comes the Fields of Love from Cupid. Poseidon is going to be able to get out, but Baka showed his face. Not over yet.
Ooh, there's the Tree of Yggdrasil coming down as Athena's going to get pushed in, and Tragedy picks up one on the good counter rotation on an aggressive play by Asinus, the team and the player, and certainly a good look there for Mobile Ward 4 minutes into this one.
Hey man, that rotation from Prime B just a smidge too early, but I've got to give it to Black and Red. That reaction there with the ult was on point.
Yeah.
The taunt was coming out of the Athena, but immediately slaps out the silence, and no counter to that really in Merlin here. He's got the beats to be able to get out of this one, and unfortunately not enough mana for the Transformer, I guess, or maybe just not ready for it, as it looks like this Merlin is out scot-free.
He gets out, but Mobile Wards will pick up the side camps, the mid camps, whatever you want to call them. So, I mean, fair enough. You get the pressure, you get the old Totally TKO. I gotta bring back some flashbacks every now and again. Sends him back to base, but it looked like he wanted to go there anyway. Cooldown boot's done on Merlin. He's about to get 20% cooldown once he finishes the stacks and the Mage's Blessing. Lots of mana, lots of cooldown, lots of spells. This is one of the earliest power spikes you can get on a Merlin, and he only gets better as the game goes on.
My kind of issue here is that Spurd is going to have that power spike like you said, but what does he do to a Morrigan in this early game without any help? And that's kind of been the name of the game at this point, as Tragedy has been showing up in mid, and Prime is all farming, and that's kind of what Bakasura does. He whips out the farmer hat, puts it on his head, and says, I'll see you in 20 minutes, boys. I'm buying your golden blade.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
He's eating minions and killing lane creeps when his mid laner's not there. That's all I'm doing. Trying to get the invades off when he can. And we talk about invades. Have we seen any other invades? I mean, we saw the red switcheroo at the early game. I don't think any other buff's been stolen for the whole game by either team.
Yeah, we did see Prime V make that rotation over, and unfortunately
Right.
was a little bit too late. He could have possibly spent that time invading, and as a Bakasura, that tends to be what you like to do, because honestly, Regurgitate is a good ability. It's probably not going to get you a lot of kills on rotations in the early game. You're going to need something like a Hastened or an Atalantis to help you out there, so I wish he had spent a little bit more time farming, but he's still not very far behind, considering his direct opponent does have a kill. They are basically the same level, and look at those two Appas spinning around there in the mid lane. That will get this Bakasura a nice ward kill to at least help him out a teeny bit in the farm direction.
Hey, we never say no to a free 50 gold. And to borrow an SSBism, I would say that Prime V has not yet butchered his early game.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
there's two of us. One of us
Okay.
just happens to be American. All right, keeping the move on, though, looks like a little bit of action with Tragedy in the mid lane. Just actually, Psych, he's dashing across, trying to kill some creeps, but maybe there's some action going on in this blue buff. That was just a Wukong clone. I thought he was dead, but instead, there goes the invade, is secured by Eat Minion, and here comes the airstrike. It's not the right skin, but I couldn't think of the right word. Jonqui putting out some damage, and Rats in the air.
Unfortunate junk down, but a nice Kraken from C-Money is gonna finish him off. That transformation was so good, and the gift there by the Ganesh over to Spurg, it might be good enough, but Tragedy does finish him off. Rat's now looking around the corner to find the stuff after the stuff. No speed available, but there is gonna be a red thanks to a rotation coming out here from Stud McBeast.
And Stud McBeast may just have invaded the red buff, but his character was in the solo lane as well. That's the power of this Morgan pick. We see it some now in the SPL now that it's actually, playable and competitive. Paul's pulled it out notably lately, but there's a bunch of other really strong Morgan players that you can pull inspiration from in order to learn how to play this character. But, I mean, certainly no one's ever going to screw up the one combo, which is go somewhere, push 4, become a mage, and push 4 again.
I mean, and Poseidon is such a good one to turn into, but
Yeah.
checking out another member of this red team, we're looking over at Tragedy here, who has gone for this first item crit. It's a choice.
But
It's a choice for sure. I don't think I would make that choice for sure, but Bristlebush does actually give you a nice bit of damage, and there goes Spurg actually almost soloing. I mean, if you don't count the Athena there, the enemy
okay,
mid laner.
you're a support player. We gotta count the Athena, dude. You gotta be kidding me.
And
Well,
there
Prime's
goes
gonna
Prime.
pick
Yeah.
up another one. Yeah. We
Like
gotta
we
give
said.
the Athena some credit here, dude. We're two support players casting a game, and we're just like, oh, the mid laner did all the work.
Whoa,
Okay.
whoa. Okay, I
Okay.
play a lot of jungle now, to be fair, but I do love me some Athena, and for sure, credit is due where credit is due, and this Athena has been rocking it thus far, despite having a death to her name, 5 assists, which is honestly all of the kills on the board, so she has been around the map and farming up a storm at this point, and honestly, I'm super impressed, but I'm hoping that this doesn't fall off come the mid game. This is really when this blue team finds their power spike. They're gonna have to start to really play around the rotations from this Merlin and Athena. If they keep going straight into these aggressive dives from Tragedy, it's gonna be a good look from them.
And Tragedy might be looking for some more fighting now that he's just finished Rage. That is a first item Rage, and it is not Mercury. This is crit Rat, and he's gonna come headbutt you for all of your health bar coming into the late game. We talk about farming, though. King Zephyr started off this game with a double kill. And somehow Studment Beast has managed to stay relatively even with him. I don't know the gold situation between the two. Actually, I do. He's got 200 gold down. But it's still pretty good, right? That he's this close to him, considering the double kill beginning.
Oh, for sure. But you also have to consider the difference that these two kinds of characters will make coming into the late game. We're already seeing the Zoom Orb first item pickup for Stud McBeast, so
Zoom
I'm
Orb with
thinking
Zoom Orb.
he's going to be a little bit more on the rotation than we might see from this Cupid. And honestly, showing up to a fight with the Kraken is really what you like to see, because using the Kraken in a 1v1 is nice and all, and it's kind of the same deal for the Field of Love, actually. But once you're fighting around this Gold Fury, that Kraken could be the difference between life and death. And honestly, same goes for this Bakasura, because down he goes.
And here comes the tree of Yggdrasil. The rat lands, Tragedy gets one, and so does King Zephyr posthumously from the graves. The shell comes out from Asinus. He'll dash away, and maybe a gold opportunity coming out for mobile wards. But ooh! Spurg with the little dinner plate of death over the wall. gonna spin some damage onto Tragedy, maybe dissuading any objective push. But waves pushed, jungle gotten, and a nice little 2-for-1. So I guess Mobile Words is happy with it, but at the same side, Asinus isn't overly depressed that they lost that fight either.
Not one bit. And I mean, it sucks to lose your ADC, who is fairly ahead at this point, but
Sure.
ADC for ADC, not too mad at it. And like you said, it kind of was the reason why they couldn't go for this Gold Fury. There were no ultimates available other than C monies at that point in time. And of course, you know, turning into the Poseidon once again could be a good look for them.
Yeah.
But the DPS just was not there at that point, especially since that shell got used, as Tragedy did walk into some of the damage from the Merlin. And you know, it's going to have to slow down for just a little bit longer until ultimates are all available to once again try and find a fight around this Gold Fury.
But hey, Tragedy got a rage stack or 2 out of that, so I'm sure he won't be too sad about that. It's maybe a little... Jesus, Bach is fast. Oh my god.
Welcome to the double katana with boots, plus that
And
speed
Baka
bonus,
passive.
plus the
Yeah.
Baka passive, plus the Assassin's Blessing.
Oh.
He's a speedy boy. Can you tell why I like this god?
I mean, I just saw him in mid lane. I was like, oh, well, maybe he might be in a little bit of trouble. By the time I finished my thought, he's literally already at red buff. Look at that movement speed. 548 before he's even stacked his passive. But here comes the Athena ult, probably onto the left-hand side, as going for a solo kill is King Zephyr. Athena coming away to steal the assist, as Prime V will steal the kill. Here comes the Dharmic Pillars. Gold Fury getting in a couple of swipes. Tragedy gets him down. Let's get cracking, says C Money, turning into Stud as Morgan one more time. And Bird does a ton of damage on this Merlin. We're liking the way this is turning out. 3 for 2 in favor of Asinus.
This is so good for Spurg too, because now he's 3-1-2, and honestly, the Merlin showing up to clean up that fight is exactly what you like to see, especially at this point in the game. And this is an incredibly crucial moment too, because you can see for a lot of these guys, they haven't gone back to base yet to get their second relic. So now that we're at that point, they could really be using this as a leveraging point to continue to push this Gold Fury fight. You know, we're seeing that this Morgan is not going to be able to come out of base with a second relic. You can take this time and force that Gold Fury, make them work without an Aegis to their name.
And I was going to say that, so I'm glad you mentioned it. Stud McBeast, can't spit the name out there, decides to go Shell as a carry. And honestly, I've been liking this more and more lately because of the rise of the auto-attack characters. But when you look at the enemy team, it's pretty much only Baka that's going to be doing that and hitting you. And then you have to deal with Merlin damage and Jean-Qui damage. I don't know what's better here.
I like the idea, but check out this fight in mid. Dharmic Pillars are going to be going down, and Morgan gets out A-okay. On the backside, though, Baka's going to have to use the speeds of the crit on the back.
Baby!
Oh my god.
And this time, the real Poseidon has rotated to mid. That was like a 640-something damage
That was a lot.
coming out of Tragedy. You know, we may meme around about this Acorn, and frankly, I think it's the worst Acorn. But, I mean, it's still really good. I mean, that's why we see so much rad. It's actually Cupid's in trouble. Tragedy. I don't know if there was another headbutt involved, but King Zephyr goes down to the little squirrel. And this little squirrel has teeth, and I think at this point it's safe to say that Fenrir would indeed be proud, because Rat is starting to swing.
I'm proud too. This Rat is 6-0-3 at
Actually,
this
kinda,
point
yeah.
in the game. It's 15 minutes. This does not happen very often, and especially not with this kind of a build.
Yeah, it's the late game Acorn, right? Like,
Yeah, in theory, you're playing this for the late game, but he's got 6 kills in the early to mid game, and with a Gold Fury on his side, it's only going to be getting worse from here. And like you said, full rage to count onto this one. 10k player damage at 15 minutes.
we like that.
I'm excited
I mean,
for this late game.
And me too, and very quietly over in the dual lane, both characters over there have just been farming up. We see the Jean-Qui Giller Cav deciding to go for a very lifesteal-oriented kind of, you can't kill me because I will heal, and then you see kind of this lifesteal-oriented, you can't kill me because I'll heal, and I have Runic Shield out of Troublesome. I'm not sure which of these characters is going to have more of an impact into a team fight scenario. Lermy, who do you think, how do you think they'll play this? Which solo laner, and what do they need to do?
It really depends because I'm kind of looking at these supports in order to set them up because Sun Wukong and Zhonghui together, you know, they can get in the middle of a fight, but they're not the ones to hold down the fight and keep them stuck into place. So it really depends on who's going to be the engager out of these two supports because the soul leader that gets set up the best is going to be the one that's seeing the most success. So honestly, if I'm going to pick one, I really like it coming out of Black and Red because he's the one with the lead right now, but the engagement might be over here on the Prime V. A nice mark there onto the Bakasura is going to force him to go farm. We're looking at 4 grouping up around this mid lane though.
Red buff stolen. There goes the Kraken just off the mark, and the shell comes out from Stud. He'll jump away. Will Prime V as the action continues. Defender of Olympus down as the Tree of Yggdrasil will be channeled. Maybe a dive, or maybe just some more tower.
We do love getting that mid tower though because that opens the map wide up, but check out where Tragedy is. It could be a tragedy if he falls down here. He's 6-0-3, but like you said, he is pretty fast, but here comes the Zhonghui, popping the demons out of his bag, but he's not able to do very much damage here. He's more so looking to zone everyone away from doing anything more.
Here comes the Athena taunt maybe onto Black and Red, but he is out of there, as they say, as Troublesome will Tiger Stun in. I'm not sure if anyone's going to die here. And speaking of dying, I'm looking at Zhong's build, right? So Giller Cav has gone, like I mentioned, this lifesteal style build. We don't see any anti-heal yet coming out of anybody from Mobile Wards. And I'm looking at C Money, and I'm really hoping that's Divine Ruin, because otherwise the Zhong will be literally unkillable for the next 20 minutes.
I mean, you really think so, right? But this Pyromancer is the one that's getting killed here. He gets taken down pretty easily. I mean, even though Merlin's been hit with quite a few nerfs in the past couple of months, the man still shreds. And that was, you know, what he's built to do. He shreds objectives like nobody's business. But kind of back to what you were saying, this Zhonghui will basically be unkillable unless he gets stuck in a Ganesh pillar. I think that's really going to be the call, is if they're able to line up a really sick pillar, and whether it's a knock-up, whether it's a cripple, whether it's a stun from literally any of these people, I mean, you can't do a whole lot of the Dharmic pillars, let's be honest.
Maybe a little Yankaroo coming out as the crit will be good on C Money, I think, got the kill. But of course, Tragedy setting that one up as the tower will fall over here in dual lane. A couple of tier 1s taken by a grouped up Mobile Wards. But Asinus not sitting on their hands either. A little bit of buff invading going on as the speed buff and blue buff will both be stolen. Giller Cav looking for a proxy farm rotation. And meanwhile, Mobile Wards are just trying to death ball. But there's no one to death ball to because everybody's just running away.
One thing to note here is check out the ward placement coming out from the red squad. They are placing them, you know, at normal places, right? And there goes Stubborn Beast with the solo on the left-hand side. He's level 19, so he probably will get away from the Bakasura alone. But here comes Athena to gather him on up and put him right into the maw. Chew, 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 and swallow.
Shell coming out, maybe a little bit of a Zapman shell, although I don't think that's particularly canon, but we'll borrow a term. That man shell coming out from Studment Beast as he shells when he is surely down the gullet of Prime V's Bakasura. Maybe a little bit of action coming in the solo lane though. The headbutt comes out, no crit. There's another shell as the demons are released, and he is literally full health. It's like nobody touched him. This is the scary part, the scary time to be fighting into a Zhonghui when you don't have anti-heal and when he feels so tanky.
One thing I do want to mention, though, is that C Money actually did use the ultimate over when Student Beast got rotated on. He tried to turn into the Athena, did not work out, though. Mitigation was not enough, so that transformation is not going to be up. But you can already see here, we've got 2 members on each side grouping up for this owning Fury, and this really could be the objective that breaks the game wide open, and it's already getting shredded.
One person already back. Morgan stepping in as Dharmic Pillars is good, but Asinus will claim the Gold Fury. C Money kills the support as in a trade as old as time. We kill the useless support character and take the Gold Fury home for ourselves. And hey, this time it's not just money, it gives you fancy creeps that show up in fancy colors on the minimap.
We do love fancy creeps. Anytime you see a creep decked out in some red glow, that's when you need to be scared. And honestly, if there's anything that's got to be scared right now, if I'm that solo tier 1 tower,
Yeah.
I'm pushed at this point. It's going to be all up to Troublesome to clear that one out. And he's already pushed up there, but that could be dangerous for him as we're seeing the rotation of this Baka.
Trouble might be in trouble here as Baka leap, and there it goes. The Bakasura ultimate, but there's the stun. Immediately after the CC, immunity is worn off, and the Aegis is good for now. Damage coming out as Killer Cav will claim one. Tier 3 of Yggdrasil will be just off the mark. Athena diving the Tier 1 tower, looking for the kill. Onto Troublesome, he will fall, but Stagnant Beast takes down King Zephyr in a solo kill in the dual lane as the dive continues on the right-hand side.
This tower, like we said, is gone. Again, that's just the only one remaining. This level 20 Jean-Qui has got the setup to make it happen. And meanwhile, on this left-hand side, the push will continue. But he's got to be careful because there's a Bakasura wrapping around the side. But there's still an entire wave of Oni minions here. This tier 2 might be as good as dead.
And Baka's home, baby. There we are. Oh, never mind.
You thought.
Idle Surge takes him down. Sudden Beast shuts me up and shuts Prime up. It's a good solo kill. 2 solo kills even to his name out of this ADC Poseidon. And he's going kind of this auto attack quasi build thing. I'm not a huge fan. I tend to ascribe to the aggro school of thought where I don't really love auto attack Poseidon, but he's kind of gone for a hybrid. He's got good burst, he's got good power coming out of the Doom Orb with Doom Orb, and he's got the Ring of Hecate, which has good power on it, and really the only thing without any damage is the anti-heal item, the Toxic Blade, that is the only anti-heal the squad has. So, I mean, fair enough, he's going to do well in solo, but I need to see this anti-heal get into team fights on me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the pickup. I think that having extra movement speed and penetration is pretty good, and he really has gone that movement speed build. I mean, you don't typically see Coin getting picked up very much. Oh, that thought! Ratatoska's got to get up in the sky real fast. He is gonna be out, like you said. He gone, he out of there. No, sir, I'm not sitting in that team fight. I'm gonna skedaddle, and meanwhile, this right-hand side is gonna be pushed on up. Good rotation, or rather lack thereof, from Troublesome. Recognition that my rat's probably okay. I'm just gonna get this tower back.
I mean, he's either okay or he's not, right? He's either dead or he's getting out of there. Troublesome, or Tragedy rather, had a really strong early game. Lots of damage coming out, lots of impact across the map. He struggled more come late game. If he can get a good fight off, this could be good. But here comes the Baka ultimate one more time. Seems to be the beginning of all of these fights as the Merlin damage will come out. Damage onto both frontliners as Killer K will destroy C-Money and a Kraken on the backhand side as the shell comes out for the Jean-Qui. But there's Tragedy and he fights back. It's a 1-for-1 trade so far in this fight.
On the backhand side, though, this Cupid has made the rotation, and he is swinging. A nice knockback there will save Poseidon for a second, but this rat's gonna be so careful. He's got 2 members breathing down his neck, and there is the heart bomb. He knows his time is numbered. Or not. One more. Otto would have done it, but the blink gets him out alive. My goodness, no tragedies here. This Ratatoska gets out okay.
Oh no, King Zephyr. We started off with a double kill and now we're here.
Oh my goodness. So close there for the Cupid, but not able to hit one last auto. He thought that heart bomb was gonna do it, but my man's built no power.
Sure. I mean, he's gone, yeah, you're right. He's gone this very auto attack crit centric build, which is fair. You know, auto attack hunters are good. This is a pretty typical, I think, build. It's the one that I think it was Roe had brainstormed at the beginning of the mid-season, not MFI, but mid-season patch notes. It's got 40% pin, it's got good amount of crit chance in it, it's got lifesteal, it's got a good lane. It's just a solid build, but like you point out, it's kind of lacking in power. Cupid Heart Bomb scales really well with power, but that means it doesn't do a lot without the power in the first place. So maybe hit an auto here or there a little more. Focus on the... That sounded really, really bad. What I mean to say is focus on your auto attacks.
Are you saying Ace doesn't hit autos?
Ability-based hunter. You know, pretend you're... who was it? It wasn't Imolito. One of the... Anyway, I'll worry about it later, because here comes the Fire Giant. It's not enhanced just yet, but so far only Asinus is here to have anything to say about it.
At this point, though, they're gonna back off just slightly, but here comes the wraparound. Kraken is good. Beats are forced out, but C-Money grabs the kill. It's not over yet, because Jean-Qui is here.
And there goes the transformation from C-Money into the Kraken, gets it off, does a little bit of damage as Stud McBeast will claim the last hit, but Spurg pushes through as the Ox gets deep into the back line, dueling out King Zephyr, knocks him back to base as he'll be forced to heal so far. Even 2 for 2, but Tragedy takes one more, and Stud takes another. It's 2 for 4 in favor of Mobile Wards, and Spurg 30 here on the Merlin will be trying to get a return kill, a clean deicide in favor of Mobile Wards.
Hey man, that was a pretty close turnaround there from Spurg. If he had gotten a tick off of that Ice Storm, that could have been a whole different story, but everybody's too low here, the 3 that remain, to really go after any objective, so instead they're going for the structure. And even though this rat has gun cred, he does have a decent bit of pen, and he is a sledge abuser, let's be honest, so he will be able to swing pretty hard up against that tower. Sledge not really taking any of that passive into effect while no one's around, but even still, that thing has 40 power on it, so by all means, it's still abusing.
And Troublesome has Void Shield, and I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Void Shield passive actually applies to towers. So the physical procs on towers, I believe, are reduced by 15% when the Void Shield passive is within range, so that probably helped him out a bit too.
You know what? I got no idea, so I'm just gonna say yes.
And the reason I say that is because FinoK said, oh, I've got all this pin in one of his videos when he only had Void Shield built when he was hitting a tower. So I think it probably procs.
I mean, you love to see it, honestly. Any little bit helps, certainly, especially for this 8-0-5 Ratatosker who has already picked up that 500 pot. When you're playing Ratatosker, at this point, honestly, I don't think I would trade out the Acorn for another item. I think that it's good enough on its own that even if you did sell it and pick up something else, I think that the passives that it brings along, not to mention the nice bit of scaling it has, it's totally worth it to hang on.
At this point, you can't, right? Because then you have to sell the Rage as well. Because otherwise, I mean, then you're just like crit rat, but without.
Yeah, you're committing to changing the build.
So if you're selling the Acorn, you're just buying 2 new items, and it's probably never worth it. You just buy the 3K pots. A little bit of sneaky action from the back line there as the Athena will dash in onto the Rat. Low number crits onto the Athena, at least as the Horrific Emblem, and the taunt will come out. Good damage as the Rat will dash away. The Kraken just misses on the speedy Bakasura as the initial damage is exchanged.
Rat's trying to find a target to go in on, and he chooses to go in on the Bakasura, who does still have ultimate. Beads have been burned and jumps over the wall. Rat's too short to get over that wall, so he won't be following up on that one. Instead, we're going to see both these junglers kind of back out a little bit, wait for a bit for sustain, and maybe re-engage around this Pyromancer that's going to be spawning real soon. And with the ward vision super good, at least on this backside for the blue team, I don't think they're really in any big danger, but the ultimates are still available for most characters, but Giller does not have it, so he could be a focus.
Lots of damage traded down to the Troublesome, though. He'll go into the Somersault Cloud to heal up. I mean, if you look at the actives, there are still 2 down on the side of Asinus, but Mobile Wards have them all. That might be a turning point in an upcoming fight. No beads on Prime V, and no Horrific on Athena.
Good taunt, though. It's going to get immune away by most of that, but Ganesh here is going to drop the pillars, and here comes the Kraken doing a ton of damage, holding him down in the pillar. A lot of damage there, and here comes Ratatosker to clean it up.
You say Rat's cleaning up. I think King Zephyr just hit a 5-man Fields of Love, and there's a 4-man Mantle Stun calculated by Prime V as Spurg will come in to pick up another. There's 3 dead on the side of Mobile Wards, and only Asinus has fallen for Asinus. And it'll be a 4v2 now as the Fire Giant will be pulled by this tanking lifesteal. You can't touch this, Jean-Qui.
Yeah, like you said, Pestilence has been picked up, but is it too little too late? That's the question here, but Fire Giant has been finished off, and we just ticked over that 30-minute mark, so it will be enhanced, and that's going to be around 4 members, and honestly, it's nice to have it on Athena for sure, but you don't need it. You got it on basically everyone you want it on, and that sustain is going to keep this Jean-Qui even healthier than before.
Hey, and I'll be real, I keep talking about how I'm a support player, but you really don't care that much if you have Fire Giant.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's nice. And I would even say, if you don't have any sustained characters on your team, yeah, you probably really want it, because then it helps you tank up the towers leading up to Phoenixes, lets you reset the Phoenix easier, but you gotta keep it. You know, so I mean, even if you get super poked as Athena in this situation with no Fire Giant buff, you're still gonna be okay. You can still heal up with your team. Towers going down though, lots of gold on the map for Asinus to pick up, and this could be a huge turning point. We see tons of ups and downs in those graphs. This is another big up for Asinus' team.
That last tower in the mid lane is on its last leg, so once that one goes down, it's only Phoenixes between this blue squad and the red team's Titans, so there really isn't that much more to do. They've just got to break the base, because once they get in there, it might just be GG from there, and like you said, there's a ton of circles coming out from the blue squad, so if they're able to isolate everyone under that Phoenix in one small little circle, that's just it, honestly, if you ask me.
Well, I was going to mention the Oni waves, but the timing not to Asinus' liking. They'd rather finish some items instead of pushing with the Oni waves in this instance, which is fair enough. We see teams do that. The Oni waves will buy them a bit of pressure along the map, lets them clear out all the buffs, get a free back off, and Mobile Wards is unable in this instance to push out all their waves because all of them are forced to push to them. So really, Asinus can start in any lane they choose when they make their Phoenix push here.
At this point, yeah, but if you're gonna pick one, if you've got the choice, I say go for this left lane, because it's gonna be the one farthest away from the Fire Giant. This point has been harkened on a million bajillion times, but I'm gonna say it again.
Yeah.
If you can create some space between you and the enemy when you're trying to do the Fire Giant, the easier it's going to be for you to do it. So if you got the choice, by all means, head on over. And you can see the split is starting to happen. We're still waiting on Prime to catch up to everyone else. These mid camps might be a little more important, but instead he knows, all right, I'm coming. He's making his way downtown. The split seems to be... I don't know, man. They're hanging around here in the middle of the lane. You've got 3 on one side, 1 in the mid, and then 1 on the right. They're going to play this patiently, I believe, because they really do need this Athena to start up this fight, especially for reasons to happen.
Oh no, the Kraken was off the mark, but Troublesome had enough damage anyway. There goes that Jean-Qui that we're having so much trouble with. A great field of love coming out from King Zephyr. Tragedy will pick up Spurg in the back line. A somersault cloud slams down. C-Money lives thanks to the shell coming out, but Prime V says no more. One more kill from him as the headbutt from the Rat trades out Sudden Beast, and a 4-for-2 in favor of Mobile Wards. And Lermy, that was with an enhanced Fire Giant.
The man hit an auto. What a crazy lad, but here comes Stud McBeast. If only there was just a little more patience coming out from C-Money, he might not have had to have fallen down there, but honestly, what a great defense coming out from this red squad. You love to see it. The turnaround was so good, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, C-Money actually turned into the Ganesh there to bring out the double Dharmic Pillars, and I love that idea. I think it's such a fabulous thing to turn into, because not only do you get that easy transform into a tank so that you don't die during your transform, but you get 2 giant boxes to put them in.
I mean, I love Ganesh. And maybe that's a bad thing to say, but he's one of my favorite supports right now to play. And if you want to watch somebody play Ganesh well, you go into Smite, you click on the streams tab on Twitch, and you search for Rongyu, or you watch some SPL with Sanguine, because Rongyu and Iraffer are 2 of the best Ganesh players in the league. And Black and Red, although he's not Iraffer and he's not Rongyu, seems to be doing well with this character. And then if C-Money is able to double the Dharmic Pillars, which is probably Ganesh's best ability. I mean, it's his ult, so I mean, why not, right?
You'd hope so.
It's a sick ability, right? They landed it right onto Giller Cab at the beginning of that fight, and he was unable to do it.
Whoa, but watch out here, because Prime V's gonna have to run. Kraken is gonna be immune out, but this Baka's as good as dead, man. He's gonna pop the ultimate to try and stay safe, but let's be honest, that was just bad positioning coming out from him, but everybody else is over there on the pyro, and this fight's far from over.
And the Merlin is getting damaged, and King Zephyr actually claims C-Money and Stud, both backliners going down. A double kill for the Cupid. King Zephyr really making his presence known in these late game fights. As Asinus gets one more, the Cupid will not be tamed. And one more kill, an unofficial triple kill coming out of the ADC for Asinus here. 11-7-7, a good start, maybe a rough mid, but a great late game coming from the mad scientist.
You do love to see this Goblin, and this Wukong's hopping back in. I'm kind of confused by this one. He's kind of inting here. To be honest, he's just trying to distract as long as possible. And Zephyr's going to play the game at least a little bit, but this Phoenix is as good as toast, and that might even be the game. Stud McBeast is down for 20. C-Money's down for another 15, and they're doing their best to shred through it, but these backdoor protections are hitting hard. And like you said, C-Money has ult, but this could be it.
They don't have lifesteal. Maybe he can come up and turn into Zhong and just destroy them all, but Lermy, I don't think he can make it. He's alive, but that'll be it as the taunt will come out to seal the deal. Of course, we give the last word to the support player. 29 kills to 28 kills in 36 minutes. What a bloodbath of an exciting game, back and forth, both sides, and Asinus claims the first game.
You do love to see games like this when they're so back and forth. I genuinely had no idea who was going to win on either way, but this is just game number one. But if I'm the red team, I have to be so concerned of Zypher because this man, he was just left at free cast the whole time.
He really was. I mean, I don't remember how many times, but there were some late game fights where he was hitting 4-5-man Fields of Love. And granted, not a ton of the red team, not a ton of mobile wards here have super necessary dash and movement abilities, but it's still a lot of damage. Like, that ability hits you for like 400 or 500 in the late game. And he 1v2'd. He got a triple kill in the last fight. I mean, the results speak for themselves. The Cupid pick was good, but was it just the pick or was it just the players? We'll see you guys in game 2, but for now, a quick break and back to the desk.
Welcome back, everybody. This again is Albion Giants Week 3 Spartans Division. Team Asinus versus Mobile Wards. Again, I'm TIH just joined by Supersonic, Blur, and Blur. We just watched a pretty crazy game one. One thing I want you to talk to me about here is builds. Because I saw some absolutely crazy stuff. I mean, we saw 2 Doom Orbs. We saw Doom Orb and Hekate in the same build. And then we saw Rat Crit Rush.
Not only that, we saw Cupid Crit Rush. We had a lot of interesting variations on build. The Zhonghui, I'm just gonna play like I'm an Anubis. I ult and you can't kill me because I lifesteal so much. It's certainly something which I think kind of only works once before people go, oh, you're doing this again. Well, we know how to deal with that now. So for the Rat, I expect to see a lot more shells come out. I expect to see a lot more anti-crit synergies into this kind of situation. Against the Zhonghui, every single player has an anti-heal item, or else you're trolling. For my money with those kind of things. But all in all, in terms of the actual picks, I thought both teams kind of played them fairly well. So for me, I expect we could potentially see like a salty run back here, because both teams, for the first 30 minutes, I've got it in my notes and things, the biggest gold lead that either one of these teams had was 2,000 gold, and then it just exploded out. So for me, it wasn't necessarily the picks, it was more the little bits around the ends of the fights. You know, we're letting Cupid completely free cast, we're getting 4 5-man Cupid ulted every single time. We saw Cupid ending with 12, 7 and whatever for a scoreline, and practically running through the entire game. So for my money, that's kind of what I want to see change. Not picks, not bans, they were fine, it's just those late game team fights.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and get in picks and bans for game number 2. Mobile Wards this time will be on the order side. Team Asinus on the chaos side. And speaking of anti-heal, I'm really hoping I see more anti-heal picked up this time, because Mobile Wards, as far as I know, had 1 anti-heal item. It was okay for them at first, but it doesn't do you any good when lifesteal is just allowed overall. And speaking of no healing allowed, Cupid is banned outright. Zypher, no, we're not running that back. Instead, Asinus is either going to ban the Freya Cthulhu, whereas Yamoja is banned by Mobile Wards. So we see a respect ban here finally. Everything else so far is just normal. Now that leaves these last 2 bans though. Do you risk giving something to see Mobile Wards that's really good, or do you just go, we're gonna let 3 good picks stay up?
Well, last time when Mobile Wards were in, their bans were Yamoja, Arachne, Oleron, with Persephone going their way. So things that are still available, Arachne is available from last time. There's the Merlin is available if they want to try and take that away. Bakasura is the last ban coming out from Asinus. This is there's still a lot of things up. There's even Oleron, if they wanted to try and run that, a great big team fight ult. So if they want to try running something back, they could do, but they're going to take their time with this. It really comes down to what they don't want to see someone else get. But hey, they liked what this Ratatoska was able to do, so run it back.
Yeah, honestly, a little surprised to see the Rat Lao through. He did a lot of work last time, but like I said, we were talking about a little weird with the crit rush build. Not exactly what you always want to see immediately out of a jungler, but instead, Team Asinus will respond with the Merlin, Zhonghui, and okay. All right, we get it. You like the Zhonghui solo, but do we expect him to go more defensive, or is he just going to lifesteal rush again and hope they don't build anti-heal again?
I mean, for my money, the way I've always said with this kind of stuff is, until you are shown and forced to not play it, run it back. If this is something that they feel comfortable on, to be able to just say, well, I'm going to build a lot of or I'm going to build a lot of lifesteal. I'm going to be able to just eat through so much damage, peel for my team, and become a huge, great damage sponge. I'm totally fine with that. But now, that's all a run into the Zhonghui. That feels so good. So good.
Paired with the other one is the Jintian, and seeing him come out, Whirlwind Raging Steel is something that I'm expecting Mobile Wards to use a lot when this Zhonghui wants to all on the team, keep him further away. And oh boy, the Hun bots locked in. Oh no. Zhonghui may be allowed to get away with a lot more than we were thinking.
Possibly, but it kind of feels a little bit like an anti-synergy. Zhonghui wants everyone close together with a nice big circle. Hombat pushes everyone else out of the way in a circle. Now, there is a little bit of fun synergy you can do. That Fear No Evil, that totem, will stay around longer if you place it inside the enemy sanctified fields. It's a little tiny thing. It's rarely ever going to come up, but it can sometimes throw players off if they're expecting it to drop sooner. So that's something that we could potentially see. We'll have to worry about that in a bit. But the Hombats, though, it still feels okay. It's a lot of team synergy and a lot of team play. And if that's what they want to try and run this time through, try it. The Bakasora didn't feel super critical at the end of the day.
Nope. And with that, the final ban phase comes through. Mobile Ward's going to go ahead and get rid of the Heimdallr and Ganesh. Do not want to deal with that one. And Team Asinus is going to go ahead and get rid of Discordia and Ullr. Ullr, pretty normal, but the Discordia ban here is a little interesting.
Certainly a strange one. If they're going to ban away mids, there are certainly some other options. We could have seen the potential for, well, look at the Poseidon. I'm going to throw out a shout out to my boy Zeus again, but we didn't see that. But there's still a lot of other mids up. There's Raijin, Scyllars, all very strong potentials that can go well with this Sanctified Fields, but if they just don't want to, if they know something that they absolutely don't want to face, get rid of it anyway. They'll deal with whatever gets left.
All right, with that, Team Asinus will go ahead and pick up Athena, get that global rotation through that can combine with the Hood and Bots pretty nicely with the taunt. And for Mobile Wards, Amaterasu is gonna be locked in, just waiting on their final pick. But this Amaterasu, the passive, the ult, it seems like Mobile Wards want to go for a much more pressure.
It could be as well. There's still a little bit of ambiguity given where we want to see this go. Jing Chen can run solo, Amaterasu can run support. Mid lane, though, is what we're looking at here. And I mentioned the concept of this Raijin was still open. And in the words of Pretty Prime, if you play the drum, then everyone else look dumb. So pick the Raijin. Great burst potential. Really nice setup. There's a lot of focus fire that can be done here. Long range burst. I absolutely love this draft coming out from Mobile Wards here. I like the adaptations they've made from game one.
Yep, and now waiting on the final pick for the Chaos side, and it looks like, oh, lock this in, please. Are we actually going to see this?
Give me the no hard feelings duo lane. Do it.
Is it? Oh, just so everyone's aware, it was Medusa being hovered, so the classic Medusa Athena lane was a possibility, but instead, okay, it's Chiron.
It is
Spectator
Chiron.
look, but hey, Chiron is selected with the Athena this time, so now we have him paired with the Athena instead. And Blur, we're going into game number 2. This is best of 3,
I think we're going to a game 3.
This could be it for Mobile Wards.
I think, given this draft that we've seen, I love the changes that we've seen come through from Mobile Wards. I think while they could have potentially gone for a full run back, the fact that they haven't, it shows to me that they are looking to try and adapt to what Asinus did. They've got much more of a run back for the solo lane, the mid lane, and the support as well. They know what they're going to be expected to come out, so I expect to see a lot of adaptation coming out from Mobile Wards. I genuinely think we are going to a game 3 here.
All right, and with that, this is game number 2 for Team Asinus versus Mobile Wards. But before we pass it over to the casters, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break.
Minions have spawned.
Hello and welcome back. It's game 2. My name's Illy. Alongside me one more time is Lermy Wormy. Best of 3, ladies and gentlemen. Mobile Wards have to win this one out in order to force that game 3. And Lermy, this is a dream draft. You got Oleron, you got Ama. Tragedy looked great on the early game for the Rat, and Raijin's never a bad pick.
Oh yeah, if I'm Mobile Wards right now, I am rolling in my seat. This is a superstar draft at this point. It's all going to be about this early game though, and like you said, I think the Rat might have it from how we saw Tragedy play the last game. I'm looking forward to this performance from him, but over here in the duo, it's just a little bit back and forth. We might see that one of these supports is going to dink level 2, and it is going to be black and red. They have been mastering this, and it's going to be a nice route. Ooh, the poke is so good, but not good enough. And there goes a shell.
Well, there's the Relic First Blood one more time. I'm in favor of Mobile Wards, and turns out level 2 early on in the duo lane is pretty good when you've got a character with ready CC like a Jing Chen that's able to take advantage of it. Set up the Oleron, and Stud B starts off the game well with a good amount of poke and thinking about a red invade, but no dice.
They thought, but instead the pressure coming out of Mobile Wards' duo lane means that they've got to back off and go do their own thing. And instead, these two are going to take away those Oracle Harpies, and that's a nice little bit of gold in their pockets to begin. But they've got to be careful on their way back, because the lane pressure is now in the favor of Asinus. So they will be able to freely clear this one out. They could have actually pushed that just a little bit, working with that minion wave to get some good damage, but instead they're backing up and trying to decide if they actually want to do that Alpha Harpy right now. And man, at level 2, it does hurt.
It hurts. But when I'm looking at these drafts, Lermy, I'm trying to figure out. I can see how Mobile Wards want to take this early game, snowball it into the mid, and they still got a decent late with the Oleron pick. When are Asinus trying to win the game? Is this an early game? Is this a late game? Do they want to try to snowball through the mid game? What do you think their strategy is?
Honestly, if they can get Tragedy here, it might just be this early game that's in their favor, but this rat is so low, and the speed buff has respawned, and of course, Prime V does know it's up. Their speed buff timers are completely synced, and Tragedy only being level 2 has got to go back, but my man, Prime V, there's a speed buff just waiting for you. Go get it!
No.
Instead, he's not.
He likes the blue buff instead. Well, at least you're invading something, right? I mean, maybe you could have gotten speed made to blue. Maybe he couldn't have. Either way, he's at blue now. Troublesome takes a little bit of poke. And a good rotation out from Spurg on what seems to be his signature pick, the Merlin, out of the mid lane. That's an early rotation for a mid laner. Normally, we don't see them at first blue spawns.
I think that honestly, it was a good one to make considering the fact that if he wasn't there, Troublesome might have actually gone and contested the buff.
Sure,
so
yeah.
in terms of that, it was good, but he is going to lose out on quite a bit of farm in the mid lane, and especially those ever important Mage's Blessing stacks. We see that there are slightly more in the favor of C money at this point, but it's going to be traded out here and there depending on what camps both these guys help out with. And at this point, it's a lot more sharing for Spurg than for C money. He's been doing a lot of solo farming, which means my man's already hit level 5.
And I would have to guess that the totem battle is probably in favor of Mobile Wards at the moment, because it seems like the mana bar on C Money is real happy and Spurg is real sad. He's sitting in the mid lane, just ticked 5, trying to get enough money for boots, I would guess, before he backs after the second rotation of buffs have spawned and been killed. But no real damage coming out so far this game. Slight lead for Mobile Wards, but no first blood. It's still on the table 4 minutes in.
A rotation here from Black and Red is good, but what's he gonna do over here? There's nobody really choosing to fight, and especially because C Money has to back to get those first set of boots. There's nothing going on but the
headbutt!
The headbutt, like you said, Tragedy takes a ton of tower poke, but he gets that advantage off and gets Giller when he's not looking for a nice, easy first blood for the Rat.
It was a first blood, and that's very good for Tragedy. We like having 500 gold randomly put into our pockets. But as far as for Giller Cav, I mean, he died when he was backing when he wanted to teleport in anyway. He didn't lose the relic cooldown, so he's able to teleport back in. It's not terrible for the Zhong Kui, but it's real good for the Rat, and that might be real bad for Team Asinus, depending on how fast this snowballs.
I mean, you think so, right? But Prime V is still at the advantage here. He did hit level 5 way before Tragedy did, and that ultimate, honestly, is way more impactful than Tragedy's as well. Having the ability to spread out a team fight using that Fear No Evil could be a real good look, but be careful, this blue buff is under contest.
Maybe we get the totem coming out and Tragedy will fall to Prime V. Here comes the rotation from C Money, and the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel hits 2 as the Taiko drums tap 2 as well. But there goes the Zhong Kui ult, forcing out some damage. Lots of punches exchanged, but only a blue buff died.
At this point, I'm totally okay with that. That invade was successful, and they did actually blow up someone. So, one for the blue. Good looks for them, and I loved the use of the Fear No Evil there, just keeping them held down into all 3 members that made the rotation. And that's an easy pickup there for the Monkey. So he's going to be able to take that lead and roll with it, especially because his entire jungle is coming up right now.
So maybe a good lead for Prime V, and maybe that's the storyline here. Tragedy trying to get off the ground on the Rat. Doesn't have the Rage finished, as I'm assuming he will go first item one more time. But Hunmots doesn't really need a spike item like that. Like the crit Rat really does need to get that extra crit chance online, so the headbutt consistently does a bunch of damage. Prime V just needs boots. And yeah, sure, getting a Jotuns or something like that will help, because then you get the ult more, but if you get boots online, you're gonna do Hunbots things. The Rat needs 2 items.
For sure, but the big question mark for me is I really wish that Tragedy would have switched up the Acorn he would gone for, because like you said, I mean, going for the crit is incredibly risky. It's real fun, but as you can see here, he's gotta actually go up into the sky because he was caught slightly out of position. Jump over the wall is gonna be good, but there goes Asinus, and he's down for the count. Another kill in the favor of Mobile Wards.
And Tragedy, of course, not getting the last hit, but certainly setting it up there with the quick mid-camp into the oh crap, oh wait, I can kill them moment. And Prime V taken off on the Hunbots without a... I don't think he had the mana for the Fear No Evil, so couldn't really stick around to help his boy.
That was the fastest 360 I think I've seen. Yeah. Jungler too. Oh, I got out of trouble. Oh wait, I'm good. I'll go back down. Oh man, my support stole the kill. And honestly, I think Black and Red right now is cheering for himself here. He did get a pretty insane spin to win over there on the right side, and he certainly deserved a kill for that. So there is his due diligence at the very least to be able to get one for himself. And honestly, with the way that these guys have been playing, they're going to be able to maybe spiral this mid-game even farther if they're able to continue their team fighting as we've been seeing. But honestly, I don't even know if that's an error in team fighting more than an error in positioning.
That's fair. And we talk about snowballing a lot, and I would say that 90% of Smite is going to be about how you can snowball lead, how you can play off small advantages across the map. Healing comps, or comps that can heal, I suppose that's the same thing, isn't it?
More or less.
They tend to snowball real well because it's hard to build all the things you want and the anti-heal items at the same time. And we see Prime V opting into the Crusher first item instead of perhaps going for a Brawler's Beat Stick, into an Oleron, into an Amaterasu, into... I mean, Jing Chen has a ton of HP 5, and I guess no lifesteal coming out from C-Money. I don't know. Maybe it's not enough healing to build brawlers there. What do you think?
I don't know. I think honestly we talked about it earlier, but Jotuns would certainly help out his team fighting as well. Being able to throw out even more totems for more parties and dances across the map would be really nice. Honestly, if I'm that Hunbot, that's what I want.
Is it really a party or a dance when they're literally so scared that they're being forced to run in another direction?
Yeah, you just send them off.
It's a Halloween party, right?
Run away from the totem. You know, they're away from the totem. But you know who's not able to run away right now is the Gold Fury. It's going down now to Mobile Warrens, and like we've been talking about all game long, and really all set long, little advantages here and there. But yeah, Conte is kind of good.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way. Gold Fury just got buffed, right? Like, it got significantly buffed so that you can't solo it. Studment Beast with 2 items as a level 10 or 11 Oleron full tanked the Gold Fury and got it to half health with nobody helping him.
He doesn't need help. He's got a little heal to himself. He's got that speed up ability with his ultimate. The Sanctified Fields really helping out here, but C-Money's the one that's in danger here, going into the Tycho drums to get away, and Tragedy might be the one to re-engage.
But Tragedy's so low as the dinner plate of death and destruction jumps over the wall. The masterful shot will clean up C-Money as well. Shell is popped against Stud McBeast. No Sanctified Field that was used on the Gold Fury. The Whirlwind of Rage and Steel will force a disengage, and there's the mirror, claiming one more as Stud McBeast gets another. So I want to say that was just 2 for 2, an even trade between the teams at Mobile Ward's back camps.
I mean, that rotation from the Amaterasu really shook it up for sure. And not only that, but now Troublesome knows, hey, their jungler fell down. He's still dead. I'm going to check out this speed buff real quick. And that's going to go down in just a second thanks to the mirror. So a nice invade there.
He leaves it up
leaving the Centaur there. Oh my god, how could you do that? You can't... That's so rude.
It's just gonna be so depressing. Like, Prime's gonna walk out of base like, man, at least I got my speed buff, and then he won't have it. But here comes Killer Cab on his rotation. He says it's my turn. He throws out the demons, but they're walking away. I guess somebody called Ghostbusters.
Yeah, nothing for them to do there. The ghosts have all left the house, and all he's really going to be able to do now is run back to his lane, but not before running into Troublesome, who does have the ultimate available. Could choose to dive, but honestly, those 2 towers are very, very even in terms of damage now. Those rotations really haven't made that much of an impact in terms of one team winning that lane over the other, and right now it's just a dance here between C-Money rather, and the other support. They're just going to go back and forth here, deciding whether or not they want to pick this fight, and the Black and Red being here, I think they're more than happy to just sit and wait, because their farm's about to be spawning too.
see a mace item coming in from Tragedy here, and I'm assuming Giller Cav is going to go that same tanky lifesteal build. What do you think Tragedy goes here? I mean, I guess maybe I'm too obsessed with brawlers, but it's a good item, right? It's got good stats on it. It's got a good passive as he dashes in, but gets the stun off as the Fear No Evil pops, and the monkey kills the squirrel. Prime V gets the better of the 1v1.
Prime V gonna heal up on these back camps, and meanwhile that blue buff is gonna get invaded, it looks like. Was defended successfully by this Jean Queen. Nobody's coming into his house, especially when it's infested by the ghosts. Even this Amaterasu is not quite equipped to deal with that, but Stud McFeast over here on this Ulra is gonna be totally fine. Taunt off the mark, and right now it's gonna be all about this spin to win. Throw Athena into the tower, but there's no follow-up DP. I mean, she's more than happy to at that point, because those tower shots are not gonna be killing her at this rate. She's got a Thebes, it's not fully stacked yet, but that bonus bit of HP certainly did come into effect there.
That is fair. I guess you know what? She lived, so I can't criticize it. But a good Black and Red's been getting some good ults this game, so I'm excited to see how that translates into the mid game. Maybe a little bit of damage coming out onto the Chiron. Sanctified Field just catches the end of it. Beads and Aegis both popped, and there goes the Furious Roar to get a kill. Number 2 in the column for Black and Red. As Tragedy is taking the 1v1 again, Prime V might not live through this one.
Oh, Tragedy turns away just at the last second. I bet that the dash was about to come back up, but not quick enough for the squirrel to continue his rampage. And I say rampage, but he is actually 1-3-1. He's participating at the very least, but not quite to the same effect that the other side is. But even still, Killer is pushing as hard as he can on this blue. Does not secure it, but everybody's rolling up over here anyway to try and see if they can take something at the very least. But all that's really happening is this Athena proxying Killer.
Well, the blue is dead. And I'm pretty sure nobody else will. This is literally just 4 tanks slapping each other. I feel like we're back in Season 3. The Gold Fury is going to get pulled at least a little bit. That was the Bologna Jingchen meta, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought I got that. I don't think... No Gold Fury pulled just yet, but maybe look for in the next couple minutes here.
Minutes, talk about seconds. Here we go. Stud McFeast back to Hecate abusing. He's got all that lifesteal in his pocket, and it does not even matter because the fight's not remotely coming to them. And at this point, it's just Tragedy taking down the Sciences and the rest of the squad taking down the Gold. I mean, what do you do? What do you do if you don't have that warded? You just cry because you know that they're able to tank that up. They didn't take any damage. He's full health.
He literally took... He full tanked it. This is buffed Gold Fury that does more damage to you, that slows you down, that screeches and does mean things to your face. And he's just Typhon's Hecate lifesteal boots all around. And,
Man, that's rude.
I mean, at least he didn't solo Fire Giant in an SPL game, am I right?
Okay, this isn't Cyclone Spin. Not yet, at least. This might be Cyclone Spin in the making out of Stud McFeast, but at this point, it's gotta be just the way. Where did he go?
He went to Erendite.
Oh my gosh, I mean, we saw the absolute massacre that happened on this left-hand side, and Team Asinus is not going to let this go without a fight. They're going to continue to push down this tower after completely shredding down C-Money and Tragedy. Simultaneously, it felt like these guys are on their own rampage now, and they might be able to go for this fire. It's a little early, especially since there are Oni minions pushing up these sides, but really, what else can they do at this point?
You know who else is pushing up the sides?
Oh yeah. No shocker.
There's no fight? Okay, I get tier 2 with these fancy red glowing creeps. And actually, Troublesome might make this painful. He's 1v3ing right now and living for a really long time. Amaterasu shield gives 15% mitigations, folks.
That's a lot.
So he is going... It's a mirror, not a shield, so I misspoke. But either way, it's a lot of mitigations. She's really hard to kill, and full health, and gets more health based on her 1. And they're all tanking Fire Giant at 17 minutes in the game. And, oh yeah, they don't have a Hecate abuser, so somebody can't just full tank it by themselves. But good play by Stugman Beast.
Yeah, you're just really reading out from the book of Amaterasu right now because I'm subscribed to this monthly magazine at this point. She's kind of sick right now, and honestly, if you were watching the SPL at all today, you'd be seeing Mika, who popped off on it earlier either. So, between that and how it's being played this game, I would love to have an Amaterasu on my side. And it was briefly discussed in picks and bans, but that character made it all the way through 2 sets of picks and bans. The fact of the
By
matter
the way,
is,
she's first pick in SPL.
yeah. I mean,
Legitimately first pick.
she's that good right now to the point where you have got to be picking her up first or banning her that early. So, I mean, you were just saying mitigations, healing, movement speed. Who doesn't want to go zoom on those characters? So, all of that together makes this an incredibly potent solo laner that they've got to respect.
Either way, though, getting 18 minutes into this game, Mobile Wards with a slight lead. No Fire Giant done yet, just a couple of solo Gold Furies. And the full duo lane is dead. And the 2 tier 1 towers otherwise. So Mobile Ward still has some gold on the map grouping around this Fire Giant. Who do you think has the leg up here in this team fight? Because it is relatively close in money.
It's going to really depend on how good these Fear No Evils are, because I feel like if they're able to get locked down, no beads are available for X, Y, and Z squishy character, then for sure it's all the way in the favor of Team Asinus. But otherwise, I'm going all in on Mobile Wards. They have got Stud McBeast on this overrun,
Right?
and that lockdown's insane.
Well, here it starts. Up there's the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, and a good Fear No Evil on the back line as Tragedy dives in. Giller K picks up 2 on the tanky lifesteal Zhong Kui, but Troublesome will finish off King Ziffer from the Chiron. Damage around the mid camps, though, as Troublesome might go down for his transgressions, still pushed up, and Tragedy makes it out at 1 HP. It's a 3-for-1, and it was almost 4.
The call is for the Fire Giant, but they don't have their ADC right now. Of course, they do have this Merlin to burn down objectives, but if I'm them, I am pushing up this right-hand side, grabbing these 2 towers, and then resetting for another fight around this Fire Giant. There's not a whole lot of time until the respawns start coming through for Mobile Wards. You've got C-Money who's up right now, Stud McBeast up in about 5 or so seconds, so you've got enough time to push at least that 1 tower, and honestly, if they had all made their rotation over to that right side immediately, that's 2 towers for free.
Yeah, and when we talk about objective DPS, right, obviously the best character in the video game is going to be your Hunter, because Hunters have really good attack speed scaling. They're physical characters, so their auto attacks scale really well. They usually have a lot of pen built, so they do a lot of damage to the objective. But a close second that a lot of time gets overlooked is the jungler. And a Hunbot with auto attack cancels and lots of power and good amounts of penetration can really be very effective at dealing damage to objective power.
Hey, but check out this Merlin damage. Stud McBeast is here. Nice taunt, though, to keep him away, but the team was not there together. They actually got off of it for a moment, which led to Zypher tanking it one more time, and he's going to be able to get out of there nice and easy in Prime. Might have to turn this around now that Giller showed up, but it looks like it's a no-go.
Well, the Gold Fury goes down. Or maybe it was Primal. I forget. But either way, it was a regular?
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Then we don't need to care about any special effects that it might give, just lots of money. Speaking of lots of money, that's what Mobile Wards are thinking about when they pull this Fire Giant. Here's a Zhong Kui, and Black and Red says, no, you cannot walk here. Tragedy dashes in to try to stun him out as well, but the team is still on this Fire Giant. This might be 50-50. There goes the Sanctified Field, and they slaughter Giller Cav in that ability.
The steal was so good. The blinking from this Athena, she must have gotten it with just the auto attack, but that was a steal if I've ever seen one. Is that Incon I'm seeing on the other side? Luke in here from the mic to try and turn this one around using that brand new Fire Giant around his waist, but down he goes. Ring of Hekate's dumb.
Well, you say Hekate, and I say just lifesteal builds, right? Lifesteal builds are so strong right now. Actually, Tragedy goes for the headbutt onto Spurg. We'll actually get the beads out of the Merlin. you look at the build from Stud Beast, and obviously the standout item is, oh my gosh, it's Hakate! But at the same time, there's a Typhon's Fang, there's lots of attack speed built with Telkines, even the boots have some life still on them. All of these things just synergize so well that propels these magical ADCs to the position they're in.
Oh, keep pushing that. If I'm them, we just keep going straight on through. There's only 2 members sitting right there, but the impatience is going to be the better of them as they're going to head on back around to the patience, I guess. If I'm them, I'm pressing W key for days. They've only got 1 member with that fire giant on their waist, so my goodness, I am pushing in right on through it.
Did you see there's somebody tweeted out a meme, I don't remember who it was, but somebody was like, inside look at Awesome Jake's keyboard and just replaced all of the keys with W. It was actually hilarious. I need to remember who tweeted that, because that was an excellent tweet. But yeah, maybe we need to channel the inner W key.
Honestly, where can I buy all W keycaps? Because unironically, I want to do it.
I would do it as well. Like, what do I need a keyboard for? I don't need to look at my keys. Like.
At this point, though, if we're looking back at this game, we are seeing quite a bit of an advantage right now for Mobile Awards, but they are only about 2K in the lead, which is honestly quite impressive considering how back and forth a lot of these fights have been. But if we're looking at one specific character, I've got to be looking at C-Money. He is 3 levels down. Even considering this difference right now is still in their favor, we need to be seeing more from this Raijin, and he might be the target in this next engagement.
Theno channeled on a Prime V. He's in a prime position for a Fear No Evil, perhaps, and there's his beads forced out by the whirlwind of Rage and Steel. Black and Red forcing out 1 active there on the Hunbots, which could be a big deal coming into this tower push that is contemplated, perhaps, by Team Asinus. But I'm really not sure where they're going. I mean, there's nothing up on the map. They don't feel comfortable enough pushing towers, but Tragedy knows where he's going, and it's straight into the back line. There's the Tree of Yggdrasil, lands onto 1, gets the headbutt, crits him for 500, but it's not enough as Prime B turns it around. Giller Cab is killed on his dive as well, and both tanky characters are dead.
1 for 1 though, and the rest of Team Asinus is pushing in still. They are doing some pretty decent damage, but Stud McBeast is getting forced out, and there's the kill by Spurg on the Black and Red. They will be able to continue pushing this if they want, but Amaterasu has used the teleport to come on back, and I would also be very afraid of this Amaterasu. I'd be dashing away too, Zypher. Get on out of there if you're worried about it, because here comes this full health Ama ready to chase you down.
And Chiron's not one of those characters you think about when you're like, oh man, I'm really going to kill some frontliners today. Chiron's one of those characters where you're like, wow, I'm
623 crit.
I'm going to get crit stuff. I know where I'm at. But like Chiron is an artillery mage. He's like, yeah, I do some damage to some frontliners, but I help my team. I cleanse people. I don't feel like he's the right character to try to burn down the Ama. I feel like that's more Spurg's job in this job.
Yeah, there's no chin size or anything like that, and in fact, he's going into a physical defense item, which if I'm picking anything, yeah, Berserkers is probably the call here, and honestly, I would pick that up on the Amaterasu as well at this point. It's just such a good item. It's got a lot of really great stats, and especially when you're an Amaterasu kind of flirting with death, going back and forth from being really low, especially when you've got that Stone of Gaia on your side as well. The regen for sure is nice, but getting hit by a knock up will boost you back up real nice, but he's gone. There's no running from that.
Stud McBeast is in the dirt, but so is Asinus as we trade out the support one more time. A blink in from Troublesome, though. He's looking for Sprung, but changes his target. There's the headbutt we were looking for. The Fear No Evil is good, but this time Tragedy gets the upper paw. And a good 2-3 for 1.
Right into him.
Maybe even a 4 for 1 if Giller Cab falls without killing any, but who am I talking about? This is the full tank Zhang Kui. This man gets return kill.
I mean, you say full tank, but he's got a spear on his side as well as a bunch of lifesteal, but thank goodness that this time there is at least a little bit of anti-heal on the side of Mobile Ward, so they will trade out 1 for 1 in that last engagement. I believe overall, what was it, 2 for 4?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, because Troublesome didn't die, Black and Red didn't die, and C-Money was casting the whole time. So, yeah, 2 for 4.
That fight from C-Money, though, was so much better than he's been for the rest of the game. He actually was showing up and positioning himself in exactly the right spot.
Over walls, right?
Him, yeah, it's really far away from where this Hunbots is going to go, and the fact of the matter is, he's sitting in the artillery mage spot, and if he's sitting there, He's not dying, and he's able to cast all that damage from over the wall.
Zephyr probably, as I mentioned, the other character in the artillery mage spot, but I tell you what, between these two teams, there's only one character that I'm looking at that always gets to go to the artillery mage spot, and that's Tragedy's Ratatoskr. That man can pick a place and say, yes, I would like to be here now. And he can either blink there, he can ult there, he can, I don't know, hack the game and pop into existence somewhere. It feels like Tragedy is just ending up in good places that get to help his team. He's dying a bit, and maybe his beads usage isn't the greatest on the dives, but he's attracting a ton of attention, and Prime V's not able to fear no evil the enemy backline if he's fear no eviling the rat that's trying to kill his Zephyr.
Yeah, he is making a lot of space, and it seems like Tragedy is the one calling the shots here with everyone following up right behind. He's been doing a great job of at least initiating these fights, but as we've been talking about at these end, it's getting a little bit sloppy, and honestly, this could be a sloppier fight to begin with as they're thrown up and held in the sky thanks to the Sanctified Fields, but that's all the ultimates, if I'm not incorrect, other than Tragedy, and he could honestly re-engage by hopping up into the sky.
Still 3 blinks, though, on mobile wards. So you say no ults, I say they've got 4 left, and only one of them's actually on a 4 key. We can blink in and get anywhere we want to while this Fire Giant's being tanked up. It's not in hand yet.
Steal part 2?
He's going to walk in with the Athena. No steal this time as mobile wards is going to get it as a transform on the back line for the Merlin as Prime V picks up C money. A headbutt! Almost one shot as Tragedy gets 1 kill. Stub Beast maybe finds the last hit, but a 3-for-1, including a Fire Giant going the way of mobile wards. They'll take that any day of the week.
Hopping into this tower now is going to be Black and Ready. He's going to leash it onto Tragedy, but Tragedy does not care, or rather he should at least a little bit. Black and Red guy, where are you at? I just got an 860 crit and you're going to let me die like that? Come on, man, get it together.
Okay, you know, I still don't think Crit Rat is good.
No.
But it's still a lot of fun, man.
It's really fun to watch at the very least. And here comes Stud McBeast pressing up onto the Phoenix as much as he possibly can. No Sanctifying Fields, and he is getting pulled into there by the taunt. He's got to be careful, but like you said, Gab is nowhere to be found, and this Phoenix is about to disappear as well.
Mobile wards turning up when they need to in the game 2 here, trying to force the game 3, a Fire Giant around their belts. Only Tragedy has lost it. C-Money never had it. The Fire Giant, that is. And maybe another push setting up here for...
you know you want that speed, Troublesome. You know you want that speed. Embrace the inner jungler and pick up the speed.
They didn't leave the Centaur up this time. They've learned.
I know. At least they're not BMing at this point, right? But Troublesome might get cut out here even just a little bit, but he is a very, very tanky Amaterasu. So at the very least, he will be able to get out of that one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's not. Never mind. I'm going to stop talking for a second. Illy, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah, Prime V narrowly escapes getting soloed by an Ama who he graciously decided to give his own back camps to.
Berserker Shield, way!
Berserker Shield, like you mentioned, finished on King Zephyr for Team Asinus. But on the defense here, so we've talked up mobile wards a bit. They're obviously in an advantageous position in this game, I would say, because of their draft. But how does Asinus defend on these Phoenixes?
They've really got to be playing off of this Fear No Evil. They've got to find some way to pluck the beads from the carries. It's just so hard as an Athena to commit your dash into the back line and then make it out alive, especially when you are playing up against a Shin Chen who isn't have to be worried about it. But look at this positioning from Prime B. He's around the back and Core Steal is away.
You say get the beads off the carries, and Prime B says, yes, sir, I'll go for it. Unfortunately, Sanctified Field is a really good ability. By the way, Ama just 1v2'd and killed King Zephyr.
Remember how this character got through 2 ban phases?
I'm gonna guess that doesn't happen in Game 3.
I sure hope not. I mean, this is assuming that we're going to a Game 3, but by the by, it looks like it's about to happen, especially if Killer K gets... bye. There's nothing more to say.
Lots of damage coming out from the Merlin, but Tragedy says, hey, I can do that too, as he goes for the drop down from the tree, the world tree, but perhaps unable to land, as Asinus will ult his way out of dodge. But man, dodge is getting a whole lot closer to the Titan room as one more Phoenix will fall in favor of mobile ward.
Man, I'd like to be in Dodge right now if I'm Mobile Wards, because they have been pushing these fights extremely well. I mean, we've been seeing Asinus like play pretty well, right? But when it comes to playing from behind, they're kind of falling apart, it seems.
Yeah.
We're seeing them spread out a lot. They're getting picked off one by one. I mean, we saw the flank from Prime B. That would have worked 15 minutes ago, but we're 32 minutes in the game.
Right.
These guys can push down these Phoenixes in an instant. And if you let them do it, they're going to do it. And playing like that is exactly what the enemy team wants.
Black and Red, I think, is doing a good job of identifying those players that maybe are just a step out of position and go ahead, push that 4 key. And, you know, Jing Channel, you look at it and you say, well, that's easy. Anyone can do that. And to a certain extent, you're right. I mean, it's not a hard ability to hit necessarily. It's pretty big, but man, is it slow sometimes. He's doing a really good job of positioning well enough to go for the accurate ults. You don't have to hit 5 people with Jing Chen ult. It might look like a big AoE ability, but it's perfectly good single target as well.
Absolutely, and we saw exactly that on that left-hand side Phoenix. Giller did not get a chance to press a button. He was killed by the time he came out of that ultimate, and that's exactly what you'd love to be seeing at this point in the game. Just killing even one member of Team Asinus is really just gonna be the way to end the game, and here it comes one more time. They're looking for a pick.
Troublesome goes in to make some spades. Zhonghui has popped his ult, but he has vanished. As Giller Cav falls for the 8th time this game, the Zhonghui not looking quite as hot as it did in Game 1. And to be fair, it did look good in Game 1. He was making a lot of space, but not nearly as effective in this game. Maybe a little bit of anti-heal extra, maybe a little bit better picks, maybe a little bit of column A and column B, and maybe it's just vision.
These guys have been playing incredibly better than they did in game number 1. I mean, there really is just points of improvement across the board entirely. We're seeing that even throughout this game, Tragedy, who has been the leader of the ring, he seems to be kind of slowing it down and allowing these tanks to kind of go back and forth, letting them and their bajillion level health bars really tank these things up and not worry so much about it. I mean, look at them, they're huge.
Tons of Merlin damage on the front side, though, onto Sea Money and Studman Beast, and a good Sanctified Shield will make some space. Meanwhile, in the backline, Tragedy and Troublesome have one shot, one more player. Ziffer is already dead as Prime V tries to go in with the Athena ult mitigations, but it's just not good enough as the headbutt claims the monkey. The Phoenix will fall 3 for 0, Fire Giant on everybody, and this Titan looks like it's in trouble.
Oh, that was a nice kill there on the Giller. I was going to say one more crit will do it, and clearly it did. Shell has been popped to save the life of the Ratatosker, but this Titan cannot be saved. There is nothing that Spurg can do to get 5 members off of that Titan, and by gosh, we're going to a game 3.
That we are, Alarmian. I think you bring up a good point. Like, Mobile Wards did play better in that game. And to a certain extent, Team Asinus still looked good, but maybe 1 or 2 points that they can touch up on going into that 3rd game. We'll take a quick break, pass it over to the desk, and have them analyze what needs to be done.
All right, with that, game 2 goes over to Mobile Wards, which Blur means we have game number 3.
I called it.
On the way, but I've got to point out again, we have a serious lack of anti-heal.
This one was. It definitely felt like it was a lot of the picks kind of started to lean their weight into. We saw at the end of the game, Stud McBeast, the ults coming through in team fights. They kind of got this rhythm of Xingqian ults literally anyone. We dump everything into them, they die. End of story. We reset, we go again. And it started to work out fairly well. We did see C-Money have a little bit of some issues with regards to being picked off, but it almost got to the point where, again, when they got into this rhythm, C-Money's the sacrificial lamb. They worked like almost like a streaker. They run onto the pitch, get their kit off, and then run around whilst they're trying to not get tackled by the security. And in this instance, it just kind of worked out for them because you still had Stud McBeast able to start pelting through a lot of damage. Tragedy, for what we saw from the last game with their fantastic scoreline, they bring it back again in this game. We saw a lot of almost individual carries in this game, and for me, that's a slightly damning sign. It's still good to see them be able to pull out a win, but I really need to see them focus more. Some of these team fights felt a little bit sort of sloppy. We see Tragedy jump in onto Prime 5, who still has ult and another teammate around. There's a lot that I want to see Mobile Wars work on here, and Team Asinus as well. They kind of fell into those same sort of rhythms that Mobile Wars were letting them get into.
Yeah, no. One thing I want to point out is you mentioned Simone getting picked a lot. Do you think the focus on C Money is possibly what cost Team Asinus too much? Because there wasn't a lot of anti-heal. It's something they could have taken advantage of. But because Stud McBeast was always left alive, even though C Money was taken down, he didn't do a lot of damage in the game, but you gave the Kate abuser free reign.
Yeah, and that's where I was coming from. We saw this slightly different shift from King Zephyr, the idea of, all right, well, if I can't get in with a nice big ultimate, I want to be able to pelt high damage from afar. Similar ideas is what the Taiko Drums was looking to do. Unfortunately, wasn't ever able to quite find the position. It felt like some of the sort of drive that Asinus had gone through did come from how they were able to work with this big teamfight ultimate. We saw again Gilakav try and use this this almost Anubis-esque style of, I pop my ultimate, I run around, you can't kill me, I heal too much. But because of the way that Mobile Wars had always been trying to pick off members and find isolated picks, you can't just do that on your own. If you're 1v3 as an Anubis, you better hope that they're not paying attention, because they will turn on you and destroy you immediately. That's what we saw on the right side Phoenix defense. Don't worry, guys, I've got, oh, I'm John Queen, I'm really I'm immediately dead. It just happened constantly at that point.
All right. And with that, before we go into game number 3 for picks and bans, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. And this is it. We have a game 3 for the Spartans Division AGL Week 3. Team Asinus versus Mobile Wards. I'm Vengeance. Once again joined by Blur.
There
And
you are.
Blur, it all comes down to this.
This is a complete coin flip for me. Both of these teams, they've shown sparks and moments of brilliance. There's a lot that they can keep working on. This feels very much like it's a pure, it's just haymaker into haymaker into haymaker. Eventually, one of those is going to stick and they are going to get knocked down for it. And like you said, this is the final game in which it's going to end up happening. For me, there's still a lot of things that both of these can work on. Picks-wise, we already saw the benefit of banning away the Cupid, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do the same thing here.
Yeah, and with that, we're going to go ahead and get into picks and bans for this game number 3.
Oh, look at that.
We have Team Asinus on the order side yet again. Mobile Wards, Chaos. Olarun immediately banned out this time. Cupid, though, we're running back the respect ban Cupid. Don't want to get through that one again for Zypher. And now, Blur, one of my biggest concerns, I say this, I feel like every single time I cast, is the lack of anti-heal. Do Team Asinus need to just take advantage of this game? I mean, last I checked, Hell and Afro are still good.
Well, if you ask Hazer, Afro is indeed still good, so I have to agree with you there. We could potentially see it. It depends whether or not these teams want to try and play around that. Neither of these teams have felt like they've had that play style in terms of sort of go in, poke, heal up, and come back out. We saw a little bit of it with the Olarun and the Consecration at the end, but it almost felt like a sweetener to the deal that Olarun just happens to be really good. So for me, it's a slight tiptoeing here, but the rest of the bans coming through, do we see Cthulhu? I feel like we have to, right?
I would expect to see Cthulhu would be... Yep, as we have the first pick Cthulhu, because Merlin
All right, game's
was
done.
banned instead, Rat and Freya as well, and so is Persephone. So we've got a couple of the Hecate abusers gone out of here. You're not welcome anymore, but Cthulhu is allowed in, followed up by Discordia and Bakasura. So we're seeing the Bakasura come back instead of being banned, and Discordia is here now. So,
But it is a switch up this time. The Bakasura going instead of Prime V is going to be going to Tragedy. The Cthulhu, though, man, you got to have something planned for this, right? It's Cthulhu. I mean, you don't just give up Cthulhu. That's madness.
I would definitely expect no one to just randomly give it up. So we should expect some sort of comp coming out to deal with him. However, he's been strong and banned right away a lot of times for a reason. And the final picks coming for Team Asinus is Athena and Poseidon. Yet again, this Athena coming through. But this time, these team fights, that taunt might actually be paired with the Kraken from now on. So we may be having something a little different, especially with the Cthulhu wall.
Yeah, and in terms of how you really deal with this, for now, you've got kind of two options. Is one, you need ridiculous levels of burst to be able to just chew through the Cthulhu very quickly, and the Amaterasu I was going to mention is the perfect way to deal with it. 10% additional damage you can deal, and you want to be around your teammates to really give them the heals and set up with all the knockups. That is a beautiful way of shutting it down. Fast attack chain if you want to. Build a kin size. I don't care. I want kin size Soul Reavers and Ethereals to deal with this Cthulhu right now.
Yep, with that, the final pick on the side of Mobile Wards is going to be this Amaterasu, which we saw last game give a lot of trouble before. So with that, final ban comes through. Heimdallr, Neath. First time we've seen her banned so far. Both banned for Mobile Wards, but Uller and Hachiman banned by Team Asinus. So this just leaves us with our final pick phase. And yet again, the ADCs are getting hit hard. Granted, I know you can argue the buffed Neath for mid.
They did, but I got to agree with you. A lot of these picks have been more focused onto the sustaining damage. The Poseidon, I don't know whether or not we really were going to see Zephyr pull out the Poseidon. We saw it in game 1, and it looked reasonable, but kind of a bit spotty with Stud McBeasts at the end of things in comparison to the big team fight ultimates that were coming out. So looks like we'll have to try and find something else for that. In terms of big team fighting ultimates, though, I don't really feel like there is a hunter that's left that can really provide such a thing. So maybe just look for something simple like I want to go safe and bully early with an on her, maybe.
The Honor is still a very good pick. Soul, another Hekate abuser's up though. She may
And
not be popular,
Chronos.
but she does have her uses. However, Mobile Ward's gonna go ahead and pick up the Terra, who provides one heck of a team fight ultimate. So this leaves Team Asinus really thinking about what they want to do here on these final 2 picks. You know, you've got Ama and Terra, especially with the score I'm about to start. This is already looking like a very good comp for Mobile Wards, but you do have the Athena, Poseidon, Cthulhu. So I feel like they're kind of in this spot of we have free reign, but it's still tricky to figure out as a Cernos. And lock this in, please.
Oh, dude.
I want to see this.
I don't mind this. It could be good. The Nemesis has been a great counter to the Cthulhu, so just pick it up for your team. And hey, you just want to make literally any player on the team squishy? Go right ahead. Absolutely love it. And, well, you want a big team fight ultimate from a hunter? I missed the last one available. Kononos, 2 seconds, you do nothing. Absolutely love this pickup. If we're going to see this go how Zephyr has played the Cupid, this is a... I already am absolutely in love with this draft. Last pick, as you mentioned, though, is just waiting on a hunter. There's not too much left. It feels almost a bit slim pickings, especially if they want to try and deal with something early. There's kind of just on her. Maybe we see like a ROM for the safety in late game and high sort of tank burst potential. It's kind of a rough spot here.
And we do have a hover for this ADC. The Rama is being hovered right now.
Hey.
And he's actually locked in, so we do have the sniper coming through. So we, just in case anyone thinks they're going to get away, he could lock it out. Nemesis being a good option for those punishing snipes. But that's the thing. We have the Nemesis locked in. Good tank shredder, mobility, the ability to stick to a target, especially if she gets on your back line. A Blur, it's a very interesting jungler that we really haven't seen much so far, but has really come up in the meta ever since the Golden Blade changes. So with that, going into game number 3, this is do or die. What's your favorite comp to win this one?
I'm going to be 100% honest. I flipped a coin. It came up heads. I'm going with Asinus here with the Cthulhu. I can't not back Cthulhu. And the rest of the team, they have, in my opinion, similar to game 1, or sorry, similar to game 2, if they're playing these gods that are just going to keep butting heads, it feels like they've got a little bit more weight to be able to swing around here.
All right, and with that, before we get into this final game, do or die for both teams, we're going to go ahead and throw it to a break, and we'll be back with the casters after. Yes.
Yep.
Because Mobile Warp doesn't know. And you got to do B again because of the...
Do we have the objective thingamajiggies, or is that
F7?
just a high-risk
Oh,
thing?
where's that under? Check.
I thought it was O.
Go HUD editor.
No, for the objective, hit
editor.
F7.
Yeah, it's under. It should be under HUD editor, shouldn't it? Somewhere. No, it's not.
Or you
that
could
bollocks,
just
I don't
like
know where the
bring,
fuck
or
this
you
thing
just
is.
turn off expert mode real quick and turn.
Hot mics.
Pretty sure you just hit F7. Okay, yeah. I'll hit B.
Hot mics.
Hello, everybody, and it's Illy and Lermy Wormy one more time. It's game 3 of the last of a 3-game set. Team Asinus took the first game after a hard-fought victory. Mobile Wards turned it around in game number 2, and now we're just a minute into this one. Interesting drafts, to say the least. And Cthulhu and Amaterasu, the solo lane of the century. The only solo lane we saw all day today, I swear, in the Pro League. Because they're both really good.
Oh, for sure. But if I'm looking anywhere, I'm looking straight at the jungle because my man Tragedy's picked up the Bakasura, and you know I love this character. I'm gonna fan to the day I die because he's just so fun to play. So we'll have to see how he fares up against this Nemesis. But looking at this pressure now, it looks like it actually might be in the favor of Team Asinus because they are up and trying to at least invade this red buff, but they're not quite on the same page. And the good strike is gonna force out the dashes from this Nemesis. So everybody's going to their own sides now. No one's invading, which is kind of surprising considering there's a Baka in the game. But at this point, what are you going to do? You're a Bakasura, you got your farmer hat on, you're going to the field, getting as much XP as you can.
By the way, Cthulhu has a good early game, folks, and he's a Guardian. Troublesome only almost takes a spill, but able to zip on out of there. No movement speed aura yet for him. But the Boots 1 start on the Amaterasu will give him the edge he needs. But, I mean, Troublesome was so effective last game on this Amaterasu. And Giller Cav had an amazing game 1 in the Zhang Kui. I'm going to be really interested to see which of these two frontliners are able to make more space than the other. Because I think that's how this game turns on its head.
Absolutely, but if we're looking at it, I mean, the big tank killer is on the same side as the tank. If you're playing against a Cthulhu, you pretty much always want to throw some kind of execute, some kind of way to stop this tank or at least slow him down, because Cthulhu can be quite a mighty beast if he jumps into that transformation. But fact of the matter is there really isn't any solid way that you can kill him other than maybe throwing the apple at him, and I guess he's an easier target to snipe, so those two things are certainly working in your favor. But beyond that, you've got to be really careful that you don't let this Squiddle get to the late game, because if he does, he's going to be insane. And we've been talking about it time and time again. This character is a solo laner. If you just let him do his own thing and be the diver, he does exactly what you want to do.
And even today in Renegade sets, they did lose both their games, but Solo Troll was still able to do things even when his team was behind on this character. He literally would solo characters while his entire team was losing the fight, and he's just killing people 2v1. That's how strong Cthulhu is. But on the other hand, Amaterasu can almost do the exact same thing, and maybe she has a little more damage output.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you see Nika get a triple kill at that point? It really depends on the player, because both of those guys, Solo or Troll and Nika, are amazing players in their own right. But this matchup is kind of just gonna be what I guess christened this mid-season patch. These two are the big contenders when it comes down to it. Which one of these guys will control the late game fights the best? But in the early game so far, we are slowing it down quite a bit. No big fight has broken out anywhere yet, and we're not seeing anything crazy like we did in games 1 and 2 over in the duel lane.
One other storyline I kind of want to look at for this game is the Hunter role. And we know Stud McBeast had a really good game 1. He had a really good game 2 on the Oleron. But King Zephyr had an amazing game 1. And then in game 2, he went to the Chiron pick, which is a fine pick. It does a lot of damage. But now that he's back onto a more auto-attack focused character like a Kurnos, I'm wondering if he's not in a better position to free cast and really hard carry this team like he did in the first game.
I don't love the selection of the Kurnos. I don't think it brings a whole lot to the mid game other than having that transformation. I mean, of course, it's good into the Banka specifically, but when you're playing into someone who does have pretty solid on-demand CC immunity, and especially when you're talking about having that Terra too that can use the ultimate to be able to at least heal her team up. Turning the pig might not have mattered, but a great crack in there, plus a little bit of damage there from the Athena will secure first blood.
Hey, you know what? If my mage can't kill him, I'm gonna take care of it. But here's a gank in the solo lane. Prime V looking for some action, and so is Asinus, there's the knock-up, and Asinus says, it's my name on this team. Those kills are mine. And he gets both blasted.
Yeah, it is his team. You gotta give him at least 1 kill. That's his tax. But taking 2, now that's a selfish support. But I loved the rotation, and especially around this level 5 mark, when you're finally able to just throw everyone in one direction. Of course, send the Athena over. By golly, do it, because it worked out the first time, and it could work out for the second time over here as Tragedy's taunted in. No Krakens available, but they could keep going on this.
There's the jump out from Tragedy, and Black and Red is there for a little backup. Asinus going back to this Athena game and game again. I mean, he's looked good on it, to be sure, but it's an interesting pick. It's not really something we've seen in the meta, at least not in the pro meta, and I guess it's not a bad pick for me. Why don't we see more of this pick at a high level, and maybe why is it working more here?
It's more so that you really need to be careful when you're playing her. If you're not able to get that dash in or even use the dash out, she's not going to be very easily in position to hit those taunts. And even when she does, if she's dashing to it, she's putting herself in a lot of danger, and she's creating space from herself and her team, which means that her team might not even be able to follow up on it. So she's kind of just a beads burning bot in a lot of instances, unless your team is literally right behind her. And that's kind of why we don't see her. But for the most part, I think that Asinus is playing it really, really well. He's not really going too over-aggressive a lot of these times, and he's paying very close attention to when he has to be using the dash and when he doesn't. But here he comes once again. Taunt going to be immuned away, but that is going to force out the ultimate from Troublesome, which back to base he'll go.
And Gillercav still does have his ult. The teleports for both characters will be up, so maybe not too much to talk about there, as both blue buffs will be retrieved by their respective junglers. But, I mean, I agree with what you're saying about the Athena as well. It's really easy to dash too far. We saw the spectacular Incon dash blink taunt that literally goes down an entire lane back when Team Envious was dominant, and people used to beads that stuff. Well, nowadays people are like, I'm sorry, nobody here is thought. I guess I'm fine.
That is kind of the name of the game at this point, but a nice cripple out by Spurg to keep away this Terra, but a blink in from Tragedy is going to turn around, but the Kraken at his feet will keep him safe for now. It might not be the same story for the other side.
The Twiddlies weren't good enough, and Prime V will pick one up. I am the greatest, he says, as he takes the last hit onto Tragedy. The Regurgitate wasn't quite enough damage through the shell to claim the life of, I think that was Spurg running away, I believe.
Yeah.
He's coming out of base right now, so gets out just by the skin of his teeth on the Poseidon pick, and able to get back in, pick up his red buff.
You do love to see it, though. This Nemesis is getting quite a bit of farm here over the Bakasura, who tends to be the one that comes out with an XP advantage, but both these guys do have the Golden Blade, and I'll be excited to see if this Nemesis is going to really lean into the auto-attack-centric build. We see the Ninja Tabi coming up already, so this might be a good sign if this is the direction that Prime V is going to go, but if only he had a ward up at that speed. It's available, but just go and get it. You're so close.
Maybe a little gank squad coming in. Troublesome might be in trouble as the dive comes in. The Cthulhu will tank up that tier 1 tower all day long. A couple of love taps to Prime V, but the kill goes down nonetheless, and the teleport is down for the Amaterasu as the blue buffs are spawning. No blue invade, though, by Team Asinus. They'll walk away, and Tragedy will claim that one as their own blue buff is farmed up by Prime V. One thing, though, all of the relics are down. If you look at the relics for Team Asinus, the only one that's available is beads for Zephyr. So maybe we could get like a Terra Root or a Terra Stun onto this immobile mage on the Poseidon. Maybe pop somebody with an apple.
At this point, that would be the best look for them, especially if they're able to drop the Regurgitate on this Poseidon. It's just going to slow him down even more, but check out the damage onto this Athena. Could be good, but the Kraken is better. One more hit would have done it. But Black and Red is going to pop the Earth in Theory to make sure the Tragedy's out all okay. That was pretty close, though, to being a great turnaround there by Spurg, who has actually gotten off of his signature Merlin. Thank goodness that he has, been able to pop off thus far, because Poseidon actually has been a very contested pick in this meta. I'm glad to see it getting another air at the light of day.
We all like the mages nowadays, and since the tanks are a little less tanky, a little more healthy, things like Soul Reaver and Ethereal Staff, of course, get a lot of showing, because they're certainly excellent percent health items. With the crit items being popular for ADCs, sometimes you don't see Chens as much, and shred tanks like Poseidon, like Merlin, tend to see a lot of play to deal with the frontline.
Honestly, with crit being so good, I wouldn't hate to see it on some of these junglers that are building with this auto attack focus, but we've only really been seeing that happen with Tragedy on the Rat, and even still, he's been going this kind of strange hybrid build that, it worked out for him once, it's pretty good on that occasion, but here comes the Gold Fury, having some extra crit here would be good to take it down, but no crit on the board just yet for this Rom, but 3 people jungling it back and forth, but the healing does not look like it's good enough, because Zypher is around the corner and spotted them out, and if they had stayed on that, I would have imagined there would be one crack into several faces on the enemy side, and that would incur a stolen Gold Fury.
Yeah, Zypher obviously making a lot of space, making them feel uncomfortable. So they feel like they have to drop that gold. Aggressive positioning here for Asinus and Co. as Stud McBeast will be in the air. We'll see if a large, angry fish is waiting for him when he hits the ground. It's actually just the Earthen Fury as comes in.
Exactly that. That's what he does, doesn't he? He spits at the minions and makes that sound. That's exactly right.
It's okay, it was close enough, dude.
At this point, though, Gold Fury might be on the table for everyone on Team Asinus if they're able to get to it, but it looks like they're just going to chill out, reset, take their kills, and go with it. And 2 for none is pretty freaking good, especially when you consider that Spurring actually got out with, 10% HP? That Kraken is so good as a self-heal mechanism to be able to help him out of that danger. But like you said,
about a little bit of HP. I was doing so well too. I had enunciated every word up until that point, and then I can't say regurgitate.
Sometimes you get messed up on the smallest things, and sometimes it'll just be the Bakasura ultimate. You can't say. And at this point, though, we are just going to be grouping up and waiting for the engage onto this Gold Fury. But if you're looking at the scoreboards right now, this is so good for Team Asinus right now. 6-0 come the kills with 1.5k in their lead. And at this point, they need to start pushing, because they do have this late game nemesis. If they continue to force it in her direction, which, I mean, she's already fed, keep going by that point, it'll look so good for them.
I have heard from sources that I believe that C-Money is, in fact, a Pocket Discordia main. So maybe he'll make like a BMT and start carrying once he gets some levels. But Stud McBeast kind of forced up into the Rommel one more time. There's a Whirlpool waiting for him on the ground. Good space made by Black and Red, but Asinus gonna get into the background and kill him. Tragedy claims one more, and C-Money gets another. Spurg with the Kraken, like you said, takes down another, but at least Mobile Wards gets on the board. It's a 2 for 2, so no fight win, no Gold Fury going down, and nobody really that sad about it.
At this point, no, and Spurg does take quite a bit of poke there, so, a lone apple coming his way, even though it's not up quite yet, that could honestly put him down, but C-Money needs to try and be a little more active in these engagements, I feel like, because he's hitting some really sick strifes. It just feels like he's sitting a little bit farther back than most of the other guys. And, it would work if he was someone like a Raijin, where he's on that long-range artillery, but Discordia, you would argue, is a little bit closer range. So I feel like he needs to kind of be in the fray just a little bit more, getting a little bit closer to the action. And I mean, if he's there with Tragedy right in front of him, I think that's honestly a really great setup for him too, because holding down someone into the regurgitate, who wouldn't want that?
One thing, Lurmy, that we haven't seen yet, though. We haven't seen these 2 incredibly impactful picks. Arguably, I think, the most impactful picks in this game. The 2 soul laners have not yet been at these gold fights. And when they are, that's that's when things get interesting.
It's gonna be a whole other fight with these two around because you've got to consider the dive potential that both these characters have. If you're just ignoring an Amaterasu running at you using that ultimate, or even the other way around, I mean, you can't really ignore Giant Cthulhu. Let's be honest, he takes up the whole screen.
But I mean, yeah, they both kill people. Troublesome's decided to go for Blink over Thorns. I think Nika definitely went Thorns today. Thorns was doing so much damage. Blink, of course, great engage tool. Helps him follow up Tragedy, helps him save the dash for a chase down. And I mean, it should scare you when these people show up. And here's Troublesome. Looking at Prime V. There's the stun out. Good timing on the taunt as the Nemesis ult will come out. Discordia Apple eaten up by the Athena player. He's still at full HP as Mobile Wards looks to pull the gold for a bait.
Kraken is down, and here comes Regurgitate, but the rotation from the Cthulhu is good. Mobile Wards do secure the Gold Fury, and Tragedy takes down one, but Zipper is getting low, and Tragedy needs one more hit to get the double, and it's going to be followed up by a jump in on a Spurt.
He's running away from the Cthulhu knockup, and he's unable to peel the Tragedy off. The Prime V at least gets the kill out of the Cthulhu ultimate with Giller Cav running away. Nemesis still alive, and a 3-for-1 in favor of Mobile Wards, but two low characters on the map. Mobile Wards get the gold, they get the fight, and they're in a commanding position.
I mean, you say that, but they're basically even right now. No team really has even 100 goal lead on the other. The only differences here is really in the XP. If you're checking them out, look at the level difference here between the jungle. 2 in the mid, now shortened down to 1, and also 1 in the support. But this is a very important place for the supports to be. Hitting that level 12 mark ASAP means more to come. And that horrific emblem just got picked up by Asinus, so he's going to be able to at least slow down some of the engage coming out from this Ama and Bakasura.
You say slow down engage. I say slow down attack speed. Whenever I get this horrific, I am mashing that 500 gold upgrade as hard as I can, as fast as I can, because it is the most annoying thing in the world when you are an assassin to try to dive somebody and then your auto attacks don't do any damage, they don't go very fast, you're sitting there like, I can't move. It just feels so bad when this upgraded horrific gets done.
It is a nice counter engage too, but it's kind of begging the question, is this Athena going to be sitting on the back and letting Giller Cav push in the front? Because if that's so, then I'm totally all for this game plan that you brought up, but at this point, it's kind of been a little bit of both where they're not really paying a whole lot of attention to their backline and kind of letting them fend for themselves. We've got to see a little more construction and order coming out from these guys until we really see that they're able to kind of isolate themselves effectively.
Stud McBeast says it's time to tee off on this Cthulhu. A Kraken comes out. Tragedy's one shot, but Sea Money gets the last hit, I think, with the Twiddlies on the Giller Cav. The roll in from Stud will cancel out the dash, looking for the shots through the walls. Sea Money with a double kill. There comes the pocket Discordia. 3-0-4 on this pick. Certainly stronger start for him than in the previous game.
For sure, he is now almost completely even again up against his direct opponent, and that was a pretty fast Pyromancer, honestly. You've got 2 members heading over to this right-hand side to just go tickle this Soul Lane tower. They're going to push up these minions and be on their way. And over in the left-hand side, though, we're seeing that both Tier 1 towers have already fallen. So this might be begging Zypher to get into a relatively bad position, overly aggressive, because you can see Tragedy is on the wraparound.
Oh no, somebody cue up the Jaws theme song, because he's going down. Maybe. Uh-oh, he's a pig. He's a porcupine thing. He's trying to attack him, but oh my gosh, Zipper is just out trading him. There's the horn charge. The Jaws was never the problem. The shark got eaten by the diver, and Stud Beast comes in with the harpoon gun to take him out at the end of the day.
One thing to note, though, is that's both actives down now onto Zypher. He used both of them, even though he really should have known he was dead. So coming up on these next couple of engagements, or at least the next one, there will be no saving grace for this Kurnanos. Even his ultimate will not give him any CC immunity, so not having that available means that he's going to be prime real estate for these guys to dive up on him.
Troublesome should be just licking his chops. He's just gonna say, it's time to hunt, and he's just gonna go on this current.
Oh my god, look at
Prime
this
B, though, he's just gonna run down Stud McBeast. By the way, Nim's a good pick, too. Under the tier 2 tower, he's gonna dive him. Oh, the cripple, the arrow, he's aegising it, and he gets the kill. It's gonna be traded out, but what a play by Stud McBeast, at least, to manage to hit that cripple right on the roll, man.
Wow.
Deal with that dive.
The accuracy coming out from that one auto alone surely helped out, but it also didn't help that Prime B used the ultimate in a time during an Aegis, and this peel might actually be good. Knockup is going to peel away everyone else, and Gav is going to just heal his team and be on his way. The Tragedy rolls in the wings. Nice Brute is going to take down Zypher like that.
He gets 2 kills under the tower. He's tanking it, and he don't care, because Bakasura passive gives you tons of prots, baby. He's just using that minion to tank up that tower while his front line shoves him off onto the kills. It's 3 down for Team Asinus, 1 down for Mobile Ward. This Killer Cav is actually trying to keep Asinus alive. The Twiddlies almost got him out.
The Twiddlies, huh?
Yeah, they're Twiddlies. They're little Twiddlies. Don't judge me. Don't judge me.
He can't say regurgitate, then he calls...
I've been calling them Twiddlies ever since I was casting Discordia, alright? I am consistent. They are Twiddlies, and we will like it.
At this point, Gav is the one that's getting gone on here. His Tragedy is gonna have to run because he's got 3 members coming for him, and that slow is actually immune by the beads, but not that one, and that might be just enough that Prime needs, but the silence wasn't good enough.
Prime V gets the kill on Tragedy, but here comes Troublesome. He's on Prime V while Killer Cav tries to make space with the Terra ult with the apple. It's enough. Cthulhu goes down. And that was a 1-for-1 out of what looked like it might have been a pick to begin with, but a good return kill, at least in the end.
Cold Fury is available, rather Primal Fury at this point, but what ultimates are even available to stop it? Spurg's there with the Kraken, but not quite close enough. Mobile Wards actually do get it, but Spurg gets the return kill, and that's only 1 more hit onto Black and Red, and down he goes, but the crits might be coming out pretty good, but Seed Money is the one to finish him off first.
That was a good apple there from Seed Money. Well, not an apple, a little ball of chaos or whatever that ability is. As King Zephyr will be squaring up at the Earl Garb. He's 1-for-1. And
so
I feel like after this game, right, Spurg is going to go back to this fight, and he's gonna look at the player damage before the fight, and then he's gonna take a picture of his player damage after the fight. It's like his 60-man Kraken, and it's gonna go up a lot, because that man popped off with that Kraken. Everybody was grouped on the gold, and he said, it's time to tee him up and hit it out of the park.
Yes, sir. At that point, he is popping off. But I want to take a look at this Nemesis build real quick. He's got 2 stacks on the Rage, and the Wind Demon is also online. So this man is zooming at this point. And if I'm going to pick up a last item crit, I'm going Malice. What's your take on that?
I don't play Nim, I don't play Assassins, but all the good players seem to be going Malice on Nim, so sure.
Sure is the answer coming from Illy, and at this point he's probably going to be pretty close to it, considering they didn't pick up the Gold Fury there, but they did get a kill in return, so at least there's that. And once that Malice is online, that means more shields, more slows, and most importantly overall, more ultimates coming out from this Nemesis, and that's exactly what you like to see when you're dealing with a bunch of tanks. But in reality, it's going to be him trying to get under the squishies and take him down in 1-2 autos, because that's why you're building this crit. You're trying to chew through those squishies on the backhand side before you get taken down yourself. And at this point, he's been doing a pretty good job of that. And even so, he is yet to really take a serious spill. He's got 2 deaths to his name, but in comparison to Tragedy's 4, it's a pretty good look.
Nemesis is one of those characters that I feel like is always so hard to kill, right? I mean, notwithstanding that people used to build her sort of tanky, she's got self-peel, she's got tons of dashes, and of course her ultimate steals protection. So you ult the tank, and then you kill the squishy, and you are going to be so much tankier than you would have been otherwise.
At this point, though, it's all up to Asinus to try and get in there and stop the Fire Giant, but the Kraken is good out to 3 members, but the long-range apple is going to be what takes down Spur. You Kraken my team, I'll apple your life, and down he goes. Back to the doctor's office he needs to go, because he hasn't had his apple yet for the day.
Killer Cav here's with Cthulhu also. This could be scary. There's the Terra Ultimate popped with 1 kill for the Cthulhu. Count him up. Let's see how many more go his way. The Fire Giant is still leashed. Asinus' team will steal it with either Prime V or Killer Cav. He actually, I guess the ult ran out. And he just died.
Phoenix is down that left-hand side,
Oh,
and
no.
honestly, he could go for the end there. He's deciding if he wants to back or not. He
Oh,
does see
he's
that
thinking about
Stunt's back. Troublesome's back as well. Dash is going to go in the opposite direction because everyone knows their Titan is in trouble, and boy, they are mad.
Indeed. Phoenix down. Fire Giant stolen. At least it's not enhanced, but only 25 minutes into the game, but I don't think Zephyr is going to get out of this one.
No, he
he
made
uses
such a
the bead
mistake.
preemptively. There goes the wild hunt, but Stud McBeast, he Aegis down as well. Man, this is a lot of resources. Try to get 1 return kill, and it just wasn't in the cards for the ADC on Team Asinus. So a good play maybe to get the Phoenix, and a good steal by his Cthulhu and his Nemesis, but an unfortunate loss of life for the Kurnos in the end.
He did choose to stay there, and honestly, again, if you are going to be that far up, if you're going to choose to try and backdoor and put yourself in that danger, don't use your relics. You're picking out a gamble there. Save them for when you're not gambling, when you're not actually totally toast, when there's not 3 people in front of you.
Indeed. Well, we asked what crit item we thought he'd go. Prime V disagrees with us. He's gone for
all that?
anti-heal crit and Deathbringer. The
Bye, Golden Blade. Okay.
the anti-heal crit item has consistently been seen as terrible stats with a good passive, and I guess he thinks it's worth it this game. What do you think?
I mean, it's okay. It's not bad by any means. I don't love it, but it's not. It's my love, you don't need it. You don't need to have my love to win the game, because obviously it has been working out for him in thus far, but unfortunately there for Killer Cav, being that far up when there's 4 members in your face has not been working out. But on this left-hand side, Black and Red is trying to once again isolate Zypher, and he's doing a pretty good job of it, but he needs to pop the ultimate to be safe. There's going to be a headshot straight in his face, but he'll get out alive.
No actives, but he's still able to take 1 as Prime V gets 1 alongside Stud McBeast. Pushing out here on the Steam Money as Spurg will get the shutdown onto the Discordia player. Asinus deep in there as his team is around the Phoenix line looking at the lurking Bakasura in the jungle. No Phoenix push is successful. It's 2 for 3. But one of those was a pick onto Killer Cav, so really a 3 for 1 on the Phoenix push in favor of Team Asinus.
I mean, Melba Wards also did get that tier 2 in the mid, so it's not all L's for them, but they do need to be concerned about this Primal Fury, because this one is going to be the zinger. Whoever picks up this one is probably going to have a lot of advantage over this next Fire Giant, which is going to be enhanced. We're about to hit that 30-minute mark, so whoever picks this one up is going to at least have a much easier time of shredding it down. So they've got to be aware of this fight, because this could really be one of the last markers to who's going to take this W.
Well, Lermy, after that defensive set by Asinus, Mobile Wards have a good dive, right? Ama and Baka with the Discordia apple in there, and Stud McBeast, of course, can shoot in with the Rom snipe over the top. I feel like they should have an advantage on a siege, but I mean the defense for Asinus is not bad either. How do you think this would go?
It really does depend on a lot of factors here, but I'm going to be looking at the junglers. If Prime V is able to isolate a target on the back, let's just say, for instance, he goes and uses the Divine Judgment on Stud McBeast, bursts him down in 2 autos, because let's be honest, man has a 100% crit chance, and they look exactly that. Stud McBeast has no health bar now, 1 crit taken off, and now they can go on the offensive. That was a lot burned for 1 target, and Tragedy's in trouble.
Here comes the Cthulhu ult, and he's home trying to do a lot of damage. Tragedy gets the shell to pick 1 troublesome on the Prime as well. That's a 2 for 1, and a 3 for 1 even in favor of Mobile Wards as Cthulhu falls.
Yeah, they're saying, imagine thinking you're just going to pick our Ron like that. We're going to go back and trade you 4 for 1. Nowhere this Athena can go. Down he spills, and with their Phoenix responding on the left-hand side, now they can finally get the push of their dreams, because they've got 30 seconds to start this next engagement, and looks like they're actually not going to go for it. They know Fire Giant's about to be up. They'd rather reset, get them wards up, and maybe even pick off this Pyromancer before the next fight.
And for mobile wards, they'd also like to get one of their mobile wards up as well. Stud McBee's still on the death cooldown timer and probably the highest DPS for that team on the Fire Giant. It's enhanced now. Tragedy, of course, will do a ton of damage. Executioner actually built on Bakasura. The item's been changed. Do you like it here on the Bako, or do you think maybe he should have gone more crit, or some crit, I guess? What's your opinion?
I understand why he's going that build. He's got the chin as well, so it does filter in
right?
correctly. You want to deal with the Cthulhu somehow, right? And that's kind of how you do it. And especially because Cthulhu has gone this spectral, going crit just straight up does not make sense. So I understand it, but honestly, replace that serrated edge with something like an Atalanta's or something. Just give yourself some more pen and, keep that movement speed in tow. I think serrated really only works on a couple of characters, and Bakasura just is not one of them.
I mean, let's try to figure out how you get the passive, right? You have to ult first, because then you need to eat your own minion out of your ult, which takes away time for your damage, your cone auto attacks. You need to 1 and you need to 3. So you almost need to 1 ult, eat your minion, and then pop your Butcher Blades. And at that point, I feel like you don't need the Serrated Edge passive, because it's auto attack damage and lifesteal. The lifesteal is kind of helpful, but I feel like you already have enough auto attack damage on the Butcher Blades. I don't know. It's certainly a good stat stick, so I can't say no to it, but I tend to agree that I think maybe other items might have been better.
I think just having, if you want the movement speed build, he's gone quad katana, right? And with that, he gets the bonus from the 1500 punt as well on top of that, plus the speed buff, plus the passive. Just go Atalanta's bow at that point. You've already got so much movement speed. You don't need a katana that's passive. You don't ever really get off. Just get something that, if you get 1 kill in a fight, you spiral that out of control. And even going to something like a Bloodforge could help as well. Because, if we're going that whole snowball method, get 1 kill, you've got the Atalanta's passive, you got the Baka passive, you got the Bloodforge passive, you're just stacking it up. But Prime B is a 1 versus 3 at this point. He's got Athena on the way, but he's going to be able to run away safe and sound.
Athena ult fired, but Amma ult as well. So at least it's 1 for 1 in the ultimate department. I would wager that Amma's ult will be up sooner, as Giller Cav actually dashes in, looking for black and red on the Terra. Troublesome up there as well. Both carries in the lane, both frontliners making space. The Terra ult hits 4. Rom snipes come out, and the Nim ult on a black and red will do some serious damage as a split push in right lane. Tragedy's running down Giller Cav. The left lane fight is still going on, but it's a peeling fight. Nobody's actually dead yet. Maybe a defensive set on this Phoenix, as Tragedy is just in no man's land, as King Zypher will pick him off. Troublesome looks for the tank to get his buddy out, but it's too late. A good taunt comes in as the damage continues.
I loved the split push up until he tried to rejoin the fray. As soon as you can't kill that Cthulhu, you gotta step off the gas. Do a little wraparound instead of cutting through the base, because at that point, you are direct Titan room, turn yourself around and kill this guy, and that's exactly what they did. They even used the Kraken on him as well, and there's not a whole lot you as a little Bakasura can do in that instance, but that will mean that Phoenix is down, so at the very least they did get that. That's not an L in my book.
Turns out that large angry fish defeat angry demons with mouths in their stomachs.
That's one way to put it.
I mean, that's what you said.
More or less.
Maybe less artistically, but...
Illy certainly is coming up with some flavor on this cast, but at this point, we're really looking for this next Phoenix push to end, and it's going to be coming off the back of these Oni fire waves. You can see it there, charging down that right-hand side. It's got the white Oni outline, plus it's going to be fired up. So it's going to be all up to Spurg and Prime B to try and get these guys down, but even one rotation of level 20 full build Poseidon Billings don't do anything to them.
The minions are like, oh, cool. Is it time to show up yet? I mean, Fire Oni creeps are just terrifying. It's like plus 25% damage and protection or something like that when you get the Oni Fury.
Lot.
And they're fire creeps, and it's 30 minutes in the game, so they're already extra tanky. Those things take the whole house to kill.
Oh, but watch this. The jump out rather from Tragedy out of the Kraken is going to mean that ultimate is pretty much wasted, and it might be up to Asinus to get eliminated here. But check out this mid lane fight. This Bakasura is chomping through Prime, and Spurg's going to get the retaliation, but Stud McFeast gets him down.
Spurg and Prime both dead, traded out for the Bakasura, the large angry demon with a mouth in his stomach, of course, able to get at least one. Meanwhile, in left lane, while there's a fight going on as the
Go for the end, go for the end, go for the end!
Zephyr says, by the way, my second name is Loki, and even though I'm not playing all around this game, I'm going to go for the split push as well.
Dude, he's doing it! Why can't you there?
You're right, Giller Cav is just trying to stop them from backing as Stud McFeast is diving in, gets the kill. Zephyr goes for the end. There's a wild hunt, but C-Money says no. Whatever ball of evil, chaotic magic that was slapped that man in the face so hard he's not waking up in the morning, and that might have been the game, Lermy. Mobile Wards pushing down the right-hand side. The Phoenix is already dead. There's a fire wave here, and there are no towers up to keep this Titan alive. Prime V and Spurg have spawned, no mana for black and red, but that is a full build ROM, and here comes Troublesome.
Whose crits are better, this ROM's or the ones coming out from the Nemesis? This Kraken is on the mark, Beats and Aegis are burned, and no mana left for this ROM. He will be starting to swing on this Titan, but instead, the call is to go for this middle Phoenix, and they are chonking it down. A couple more autos will do. And the reset is probably going to come out here. It's no mana for two of these guys, means they've got to skedaddle.
And of course, if they lose that fight on the Titan, right, that is literally game. Mobile Wards would lose if both of their characters died on Titan. We already saw King Zephyr go for it. Prime, Spurg, Asinus with an Athena ult, and Giller Cav can probably teleport that Athena right in there to tank it all up for him. So I like the call not to go for the end. They're going to get the Phoenix, pick up the enhanced Fire Giant one more time at 37 minutes in. There's the regurgitate, I said it correctly, as Tragedy is going to go for the dive. The large angry fish claims the return kill. But so Tragedy trades out an enhanced Fire Giant, but sits down the Poseidon for a while. What do you think?
Not here for it. I think Tragedy, honestly, I can appreciate you going for the pick there, but being with your team, with this EFG, is what's going to end the game. If you're a man down, you're going to have to really start pushing this, because one Phoenix has spawned, no more fire minions coming down that right-hand side, so they're going to have to start pushing down this left-hand side to counteract their own fire minions coming through, and I'd rather have this Bakasura back on split push duty than dead.
But there are still 4 EFGs, and it still was a 1-for-1, so no massive advantage either way. Mobile Wards pushing against the Fire Wave, as Zephyr will clean up the last of the Fire Waves in right and make some progress toward tower. Prime V will back, and this is a big moment coming up. This left-hand Phoenix Siege. Spurg is spawning. He'll be here sooner than Tragedy, and they want this to happen beforehand. There goes the Terra ult. Nemesis ult on the backline as Prime V is diving. Giller Cav trying to make space as Troublesome's at half health on the Amaterasu. No teleport to come back into the fight, and here comes Spurg. He's in the fight now as it's still a 4v5. As out of the base comes Tragedy. Based on the speed buff that he's killing, I don't think they're going to go for this next push.
They're going to just sit here with this Monolith and sustain a bit. They've got the regen coming out of this EFG, and they're probably just going to wait a second. Let this Bakasura come on through, do his mid-camps at 39 minutes in, and go on and push up that right-hand side. At this point, he's probably just waiting on the split push. They've used a ton of ultimates on both sides. They've got to be a little bit careful about who's up next, because they do still have Kraken on their side. If they're able to get a nice taunt onto several members, that could just be it for the side of Mobile Wards. Relatively squishy are most of those characters, so it really does depend on who hits the bigger ultimate here between the mages.
And Asinus can afford to be a little bit aggressive here. He can just go back to base and heal up, and even if the fight starts while he's in base, he can just Athena ult to it. So he's fine looking for a little more aggressive picks at the moment. Tragedy's gone for the long play split push across the map, trying to split up the defense from Team Asinus. This is game 3. This is for the set, and here comes the push. Perhaps they will go on this next wave. Baka 1v2ing, so there's only 3 people in left for the blue side, and here comes Troublesome, pushing in the big taunt on the front line, but he couldn't follow up as Zephyr was CC'd. Asinus is low, as there are 2 members low. C-Money gets the kill finally on Asinus, but there's the large angry fish shutting down the woman with a mirror as C-Money runs for his life, as Zephyr shuts him down, as Stud is dealing with the Nemesis ult in his face. There's the shell, comes out as he rolls away, has fallen in both left and right.
Trades back and forth here. It's going to be black and red running for his life, but Prime V is so fast thanks to the Hasten Katana, thanks to the Windian, thanks to Atalantas. He's going to be able to chase down everyone in his path and at least keep his base safe for now. Only 1 member remains on the side of Mobile Wards, but there's no shot that these guys can push through to the end. There's still 2 tier 2 towers remaining, and he's already used both his dashes. Tragedy's right behind you.
No, it's such a tragedy, but tragedy is here to turn the real tragedy into getting a kill. There's the slice and dice, and the creeps will finish him off. But a 1-for-1 deicide, as Mobile Wards are completely off the map. They have been counter-warded.
They've been at least there to make some time. Team Asinus has been all over this in terms of their defenses. They might have all their Phoenixes basically down if you count out that middle one that's got no health remaining, but at this point, all it takes is 1 good push, 1 more strong 5-man up into that Titan room to really end the game. If they're able to fully commit their abilities on there, and especially using that ultimate from the Terra for some solid sustain, they could just finish it then and there.
And I mean, I don't know when he built it, because frankly, I'm not looking at builds at this point. I'm just shouting about the flashy colors that are appearing in front of my face. But black and red has a Spear of the Magus. It means that whenever he ults, once that ult pops, everybody's sundered. That's what that means, right? That passive, 7.5 increased damage from all sources. You're effectively sundering people when you do damage to them. That's good. Oh, by the way, I'm pretty sure it stacks, so if C-Money hits them as well, they will literally vanish.
I mean, that's what they need right now, is for someone to vanish. And not only that, but now Black and Red has picked up the anti-crit item as well.
Yes.
So it's going to be off the back of them getting this next enhanced Fire Giant. And if I'm Team Asinus, I could try and defend this, but why push up and risk the end when even if you steal away this Fire Giant, that doesn't mean you auto-win the game. You could get a kill or 2, but they've been having some pretty solid defenses at this point. Just keep playing the game.
I mean, they've at least been able to stall this out, right? I mean, they've been unable to really turn the stall into a win, but little by little, maybe they can keep their Phoenixes up, win a fight, push things down, and even if they can't win, they can reset the map and go for 1 more try. This is game 3, all the marbles on the table as Troublesome blinks in, forcing out Prime V on the backhand side, Giller Cav making space on the front. Crits come out, and the large angry fish is unable to finish off the tragedy. The demon with the stomach in his belly has won this round, folks. As the damage continues in the mid lane, the Phoenix has died, and no players have. I spoke too soon. Prime is now on the ground.
Prime V just going a little bit too far there, and Black and Red's making the dash in. The Titan has been leashed. This could be it, Illy.
Giller Cav getting low on the defense, goes to the dash to displace, but the Titan is at 50% HP. Black and Red tries to make a stand, 25% HP, and it's too much damage. Stud Beast and C-Money trade out the lives of their solo laner and their jungler to win game number 3. Mobile Wards take the set.
What an impressive showing between these two teams. This whole set has been a treat, but again, Mobile Wards just pushing it even farther than necessary. And honestly, you gotta give that to the excellent engage from Tragedy and Troublesome.
Yeah, and what a fun set to watch, right? I mean, each game, the first one incredibly back and forth. The second game maybe a little rougher, but still a close match. And then game 3 is a 44-minute epic. I mean, I don't know quite where to start breaking this one down, so I'll leave it to the other half of the team and send this one over to the desk, take a breather, and have some water.
All right, thank you, Illy and Lermy. As usual, some good casting. And this time, we even had some special Crash Bandicoot game noises from our casters themselves, their own little specially on the take. But, you know,
Iliaku Aku.
I did think the one thing was we had the large angry fish and then the stomach and the belly. I mean,
We did have the large angry fish and the stomach
it was
and the
a
belly.
long set. So, no surprise there. But at the end of the day, Team Asinus loses it out 40+ minute game 3. Mobile Wards hold on. And I'm going to be honest, early on, it looked like this was Team Asinus' game to fully control. They were hot.
They really were. Unfortunately, that heat ended up getting them burnt just a little bit too much. We saw it really sort of started around these fights around the sort of the second Fury that really popped up. Mobile Wards are able to grab it. Team Asinus turn up. They're like, all right, guys, let's take the fight after that. And suddenly, Nemesis is on the other side of the map. It's a 4v5, and they just get steamrolled. And then you start getting this Mobile Wards in control. We saw left side Phoenix went down, which did revive a lot of Asinus' sort of momentum coming back into the sort of the midpoint of this game. But the later this went, Mobile Wards started really playing their comp, and I mean really playing their comp. Tragedy round the backside, just causing a huge problem for the DPS Team Asinus. We then see Stud McBeast able to stay alive for long enough periods of time, and with that ult, it was fantastic. We saw the Nem dive, the trade out 1-for-1. It was beautiful watching this come out. And finally, this team just looked like a cohesive unit that were playing together, that had comms on, that wasn't just a ranked team. And it looked good, and it played well. It felt a little sloppy at times, but hey, if you can come from game 1 right the way to this was a million times better. Loved what we saw here.
You know, one thing I want to talk about is we saw King Cypher attempt the end. One thing I noticed, though, there were still 2 tier 2 towers standing. Was this a bit of lack of map awareness, miscommunication from the team? Like,
it was
because it felt like if he had just backed out, they had full control of the game.
It was a little rough as well, just because the 4v5 dance that the rest of the team was trying to do went abysmally. 3 members were dead instantly. It was just Gilla Cav left to try and sort of stop people from backing. It felt like a call of, well, I've done this now, I kind of have to do it. Otherwise, I've wasted even more time and we just lost 3 members for nothing. But it's very difficult to try and follow it. And like you mentioned, having the 2 towers up means that the Titan was so much tankier. If that had been split push the Phoenix and then split push mid tier 2, maybe it works out better for them. But Mobile Wards as well had a slight issue. The first time they tried to end around the 36-minute mark, it felt a little bit sort of, again, this sort of nosebleed hyperventilating. Oh my god, we're right at the end of the game. Members are dead. We just got to end. We can do this now. No. Take a step back. Their members are up. You've tried focusing the Titan. You don't quite have the DPS. Let's just focus out the Phoenixes, because they had to back up. And then the right side Phoenix immediately came up. So they got mid, but right side, all the pressure they had there was pretty much gone. So they traded right side pressure for mid side pressure, and it felt like the game went on a little bit too long. But the last couple of fights, Mobile Wards, Tragedy running around playing very nice on almost like a broomstick, just sweeping through members. Really loved seeing it. The Terror ults were absolutely fantastic. Completely counters out everything Cthulhu wanted to do. He wanted to be the big I am in these fights and just didn't get it to do it. Everyone was tankier. He wasn't tanky at all. Just complete non-factor in this entire latter half of the game.
All right, and with that, this has been the Albion Giants League Week 3. The last time tonight, I'm TIH Vengeance, those Supersonic Blur. Casters were Illy, Lurby, Wormy with Frog on the Spectator tonight. Thank you all for stopping by, and we hope to see you again next time.